disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. Just, I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it, man.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
Just kill the fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
You happy because you got nothing? You don't got a thing. You happy because you got nothing?
Lomito!
You got nothing.
I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA boxing.
Welcome everybody to another BD Boxing podcast, broadcasting to you live from the True North. Yeah, it's your good friend Mr. BDA, flying solo for the moment. I'm gonna remedy that in a couple of seconds. But before we get down to the fun, which is we're gonna be looking at and grading the progress and the achievements of the top boxers of 2021. I'm gonna get to the rankings and the criteria in a minute, but before we get down to that, fellas, get the business out of the way. Hope you're all doing well, number one. Number two, if you want to keep the gravy train rolling, you can certainly do so by supporting us via the super chat. But the most important thing is that you continue to like, subscribe. You can check these episodes over at Spotify, Spreaker. You can also contribute via the Patreon and PayPal, because YouTube does take a percentage of this. And so pretty much most of the time that the super chat is affected by that. But like I said, the most important thing is you continue to like and subscribe, fellas, all right? And if you can join the membership program, that's even more direct. And you get special emojis and badges. All right, fellas? So don't forget to check us out on Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify at your own leisure. Doesn't have to be live. And in any event, I'm glad to see a lot of people here. What a year we've had in boxing. And I want to give a shout out to everybody that's been supporting us, everybody right now in the chat. 1 foot out the door. Rapax Trucking Company, GB Guthrie, Steve P, 1 foot out the door. Rafael Garza, Lobito, aka Gonzalez, shout out to him. Official Scorecard Boxing in the house. Check out his channel, Official Scorecard Boxing. I think the Coup d'etat, he still does that one as well. Shout out to Official, shout out to Padja, Rich Curick, Iceman, and many more. 1 foot out the door. Shout out to 1 foot out the door for his contribution with the super chat. He says, Happy New Year, fellas. Right back at ya. 1 foot out the door. And GB Guthrie, shout out to GB Guthrie. He says, salute to my BD Boxing family and friends. Happy New Year, yeah, degenerates. Ah, yes, indeed. Right back at ya, man. Julio Choa, shout out to Trail Ballins. Everybody, guys. All right, so here's what's going to happen here. We're going to be looking at the top boxers of the year. Obviously, we can't cover all of them because you know what, we've done this segment about 2 times already in the past 2 years, and we always take too much time with each fighter. Sometimes because we get into disagreements about whether a fighter passed or failed or whatever. But in this one, we're gonna try to go fast, and that's why we can't cover every single boxer out there. I mean, so if you want us to talk about Kiko Martinez or Zucan, or it's just not gonna happen. We can't cover all of these guys. But we're going to do our best, all right? And now here's what happens. We're basing people's and boxers' progress and achievements based on the achievements in the ring. We're also going to take into consideration how big stars they are outside the ring, you know, their overall power star profile, what type of backing do they have in terms of promotion, management, and of course, fans. Oh, and the talent threshold. How far can they go? So if you take a guy like... I don't think he's in the list, but a guy like Jaron Ennis, you would say, well, he's got Cameron Duncan, that's pretty good. He's got some hype behind him because of all the stoppages he's been scoring, and the talent is off the charts for him, or a lot of people who think so. So, you would give him a pass, or you would, stuff like that. That's what we take into consideration. All right. Now, I'm going to invite a couple of people here. And then I'm going to have to add a little something that I forgot to add. But let me just... shit. Hold on a sec. I'm going to call Bucho first. See if he's in there. And then we'll go from there. And yeah, wait, listen. The end of the year is coming to an end. It was a pretty good year, man. But we already have some fights. We have a fight this Saturday between King Kong Ortiz and Charles Martin. Believe it or not, that's pay-per-view. Eesh. But hey, it should be pretty good nonetheless. A little boxing to satiate our needs. We always on the lookout for that. All right, who am I missing here? Hold on, Gonzalo. Did I invite Gonzalo? There we go. And I need Chief. I'm going to invite the Chief as well. Hopefully we get a lot of people. Otherwise, I can do this by myself or with you guys. Now, let me just add... I forgot to add something here. And I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to change this here for a little while. Hold on a second. Oh, Gonzalo, you there?
Yeah, I'm here, BDA. How's it going?
Good,
Happy
good,
New
man.
Year.
Happy New Year to you too. Well, man, yeah, it's coming, right? So, in a day, in a couple of 24 hours, whatever. What did you think of the year, Gonzalo? In terms of the matchup, the quality of the fights and all that?
I recall there being some very, very interesting fights. First thing comes to mind is Josh Taylor versus Ramirez, Fury versus Wilder, Chocolatito, and the first quarter of the year, I believe. And those type of fights, I could probably name about 5 or 6 of them that come up to mind. But yeah, it was pretty interesting, and there were good fights too.
Absolutely, man. I mean, look, we had a little bit of everything this year. We had unification fights, which people really seem to love. And I think it was Jimmy or Recognized, I think. Somebody said, this is good because it's going to push people to get more unification fights. They saw the adulation that they received from the networks and from journalists and from fans, more importantly. And it used to be that people used to protect that O. Now people might be looking at that saying, screw the O, I want to go for undisputed. I mean, we also had fights in the UK with Joshua Usyk, packed house over there. Davis didn't sell out, but I mean, he still did good numbers in LA, and it was an entertaining fight against Isaac Cruz. Devin Haney stepped up, even though his performances might have been a little lackluster for some people. I mean, it was just an overall good year. So,
yeah, that's a good point, BDA. And one thing that came to my mind when I was watching, I believe it was last week or the week before, when Gonzalez fought Zurdo Ramirez, everybody in that card and the other cards that were fighting on that night, they fought with that fervor. They delivered. They were going for the knockouts, even the women. Cenicia Estrada, which I'm not a big fan of the women's boxing, but what I'm trying to basically say is that you saw the intention of these fighters trying to go in there and bang, put on a performance.
Yeah, man. I mean, a long time ago, Emmanuel Stewart said that he was tired of people going for decisions. He wanted to see people go for the knockout. And of course, it's going to vary. Like a guy like Devin Haney, I don't expect him to go for the knockout because when he tried to do it against Linares, he almost got taken out. So, you got to give fighters some slack. But for the most part, yeah, man, he tried to go for it. So he tried to make it entertaining. And these fighters, that might be the key here. It's like the ancient Eastern philosopher used to say, you teach people by example. So when you take a guy like Josh Taylor, Usyk, Canelo, Lomachenko to a certain extent too, they come off a loss and they step up right against the best of the best and put on good performances. That's the only thing you can really ask for. I'm going to ask you guys, can you see the screen I'm sharing? Chief and Gonzalo?
See.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Yes, I can.
Okay, because we're going to you guys remember the drill, right? With these report cards, we're going to take a look at some of the top fighters in the game. We're going to assess their year, the performances that they put forth, the wins, of course. It's not just how they won, but it's also, the wins themselves, or the opposite, rather. It's not just the wins, but how they won as well. what type of support they have in terms of management and promotional outfits and fan base and the future that they have and the talent that they have. So we're going to be taking a look at all of that. Now, there's 3 rankings that we can give, okay? Pass, and if you want to, you can, when you guys give your decision, you can say high pass, low pass, whatever, like barely passed or a very high pass. And that's when a guy did what he was supposed to. It doesn't mean it's bad, doesn't mean it's, it's like, it's, whatever. No, it means they did good. They fought, they did what they had to do. They defended the titles. Maybe they scored a knockout here or there, whatever. Fail would be, well, just completely screwed up. And it doesn't even have to be the fighter's fault necessarily. But I mean, it's what happened in the ring or what didn't happen that counts. So if a guy didn't fight at all because of several delays, whatever, hey, it's his fault. And of course, once we get to the honor roll, that's when a guy went above and beyond what he's supposed to do. So if a guy jumped up 2 weight divisions to take on the best or something like that, or they defended their title 3 times or something like that, or they cleared out a division. So that's what we're going to get to here, fellas. And you know what? It usually takes us a lot of time. Let's get right down to it. Any questions, by the way? Any questions before we start?
That's the same as last year. Sounds good.
Okay. I'm going to... Yeah. Sorry, I thought I heard somebody was going to say something. All right. I'm going to start out with Sonny Edwards here. From the lower weight divisions. Most people didn't see him fight, I suppose, because he was fighting on some weird network. But he did beat the always tough... and I can always forget how to pronounce his name. Somebody had told me how to say it, and I forgot. But Sonny Edwards did fight Mathelane, and easily, well, I don't know if easily, but I'll point him for 12 rounds. And then his last fight a couple of weeks ago, he just ran circles against Jason Mama. So what do you guys think about Sonny Edwards? I'm going to give him a solid high pass.
Well, yeah, I don't know too much about Sonny Edwards, but I do know that the African guy was a long-standing champion, flyweight, I believe. So, I mean, he was an old guy, but still, he had been champion for really many years. So he beat that guy, and he fought 2 times. So I'll give him a pass as well.
Chief?
In an era where people barely fight, he fought twice while we're still building our sport back up. Like as Gonzalez said, he'd be a long-standing champion and made a title defense. Considering the other parts of his record of being a young undefeated fighter, yeah, I have to give him a high pass.
I mean, some people would actually maybe even give him an honor roll, but I don't know.
I don't know enough about him. I call myself a boxing historian, and I'm not very familiar with this individual yet. So, please forgive me. But what I do know of this kid, he's already got. Hold on, he's already got 3 title defenses, even though we're only ranking the year of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean,
somebody
define what's going to qualify for honor roll. He's definitely a high pass because he had 2 title defenses but it wasn't a very slow year. 2020 was a slow year. This is a pretty big year. We had a lot of stuff going on. So high pass, definitely. Honor roll is going to be maybe a reach based off of what all we had this year.
Yeah, I mean, look, listen, first of all, I don't besmirch anybody for not knowing who he is, because even, I only knew about this guy 2 years ago. I think, it was 2 years ago. So, and even then, I haven't watched all his fights. But, it's at some point you can't watch everybody. But look, if you look at the rankings here on Ring Magazine, hold on a second. I'm going to give him a high pass. If somebody wants to argue honor roll and they know better than us, then fine. But if you look at the Ring Magazine ratings here, he's got a lot of potential to make the honor roll next year. Now, honor roll, like I said, Chief, it means you went above and beyond. A boxer went above and beyond what he was supposed to do, meaning unified a division, cleared out a division, jumped up 2 divisions or something amazing like that. And he did something he wasn't obligated to do, something extraordinary, and yet he accomplished it. That's where...
Which he didn't do. Didn't do. So it's fair to say high pass.
Right. Look, he's got a potential fight with Julio Martinez. That could be a big fight right there. He's got Junko Nakatani in there too, undefeated fighter. So now the only thing that's going to hold Sonny Edwards back is going to be his lack of punching power, because as you can see here, he's got 17 wins and only 4 knockouts.
Right.
It could be a Josh Warrington type situation where if somebody can beat him at his own game, he's not really going to have a plan B, something to fall back on. Then again,
you know what? Can't wait to see that. See if that ever happens to give us some entertainment. So, I'm not looking for this guy to go down. What I'm saying is, I can't wait for someone to test him that much to see. I knew some guys back in the '80s. I can't remember off the top of my head. That didn't have any power, and when boxing didn't work anymore, they just had to dig their feet in and try and fight their way out. And of course, they lost because they didn't have any power. But man, they gave. Troy Dorsey's a perfect example.
Yeah.
And they gave great shows because they fought that way. So, like I said, I can't wait to see this kid keep going, and maybe someday somebody will take it to him, and he'll have to dig in and put on a heck of a performance.
Well, he's got like I said, he's got a good fighter in front of him, Martinez.
Yep,
that could happen, or Nakatani. So the future is bright for Edwards. Now, let me just real quick, because I need to open a second folder here so that every time we get through with a fighter, I can pretty much put him in another bin so I don't get confused. But yeah, so Sonny Edwards, hopefully he does well in the near future. And like you said, we can expect big fights. I mean, we want big fights to happen. All right, let's go to, who else do we got here? All right, let's go to Kazuto Ioka, who, if I remember correctly, I think last year, by virtue of his win over... hold on a second. Okay, by virtue of last year's win against his nemesis in Japan, it was a super fight over there against not Kameda. Anyway, I'm forgetting his name right now, but I think we gave him the honor roll last year. This
Tanaka?
year, Ioka.
Katana.
Kazuto,
Tanaka.
Kosei Tanaka, yes, thank you. Now, that was a fantastic performance against an undefeated fighter, stopped him and all that. This year, he was going to fight twice. I think he's still scheduled to fight on the 31st against some late replacement. He was supposed to fight Ancajas. That didn't happen. And in his only fight of 2021 so far, he struggled mightily against Francisco Rodriguez Jr. In fact, when I rewatched the fight, I feel now that Rodriguez should have gotten the nod in that one. So what do you guys say?
Who are we talking about? Is this Nakatani?
No, this is Kazuto Ioka.
Oh, Ioka. Okay, hold on. I'm pulling up his box rec so I can keep a track of what he's accomplished. Yeah. We're at flyweight?
Yes. And, well, Gonzalo, you want to start?
Well, I didn't watch the fight, but I think I did watch some highlights. Yes, he fought Francisco Chihuahua Rodriguez. Tough little Mexican fighter with some losses, but the guy always comes to fight. And you watched the fight, you said, you thought that Rodriguez won in hindsight. With that being said, this guy won, and so he retained his title. And I'm just going to have to give him a pass, but, just like a slight pass. What do you call it? Like fair.
Low pass. Yeah.
Yes, low pass.
I can agree with that. Chief, I don't know if you saw the Rodriguez fight, but based on what we said, or if you did watch it, what do you think? Low pass?
I don't. Let me make sure my mic's on.
Yes, it is. We can hear.
I don't have a problem with a low pass. I'm looking to see what else he did this year. I think that was his only title offense, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, like I said, he was going to fight Ancajas. That was a big fight there for him, but
right, but that fell through.
Yeah, the Japanese, man, that they're afraid of the Omnicron or whatever it's called, the Decepticon.
Yes, I've been saying the same thing. It's the reason why you and I are friends. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to give high passes and honor rolls, like you said, to people that have really done something. And with all due respect to this champion, he fought one time. And you guys are making it sound like the fight was really close. It could have possibly gone either way. Or what I'm hearing on this broadcast, I did not see that fight. But it's a pass.
It's a low pass.
Pass to low pass, somewhere in there. He didn't do anything above and beyond this year.
Yeah, I agree, man. And hopefully things step up, because he was supposed to retire, I think, 2 years ago. And then he came out of retirement. He's 32 years old. Now, for little guys, I know things are changing now, but still, 32 years old for a guy at his weight class. His time's running out. So if he wants to take on Ancajas, or who was it? There was a rumor that he was going to fight somebody else. Hold on, who was it? He's a junior bantamweight. So
Give
I
me a
believe
second.
I don't know if he was going to fight
him up.
What is it? The Delakian, the Armenian guy?
No, I think did they actually say that they wanted him to fight the winner of Gonzalez Estrada, the winner of that rubber match, I think.
Oh, cool.
But he would
Which
have had,
also fell through.
yeah, but he would have had to gotten past Ancajas first, and Ancajas is a different animal than Rodriguez. Rodriguez has really improved in the past 3 years. You know, I wanted to mention something about Rodriguez Jr. That guy, I remember I saw him fight Nietes. And when he fought, you know, Nietes was too sly for him, too smart, too seasoned. He also lost against Chocolatito. But guess what? When he fought Chocolatito, he was 20 years old. That's how they do it in Mexico. They throw you to the wolves to see if you will, they'll throw you in the deep water to see if you sink or swim. And right now, Rodriguez is showing you that it's like, you know, they threw him in the deep end. His muscles got stronger. And now at 25, 26, he's got experience. He's seasoned himself now. And so I don't besmirch Ioka for strolling against him, but struggle he did, and it was his only fight so far of 2021. And the guy he's fighting next is not a world-class guy, so let's give him a pass. But
they threw him in the deep end, BDA. They threw him in the deep end, and he survived. So when he came out alive, he only better, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
We got to give him at least a pass due to who he is and what he's done. I mean, I know we're trying to judge the year, but he had a title defense. He still has a title. He hasn't lost anything. He fought. He's got to at least get a pass. There's people that will get a fail later that are surefire Hall of Famers later in the broadcast if we covered them today. But he, like I said, he had a title defense. And he's a 4-division champion. He gets a pass.
All right. Let's keep that in mind, though.
Sorry, I meant to say the Ukrainian guy, Delakian. I think I heard that he was going to fight him, but I'm not sure. There's a bantamweight, junior bantam that's Ukrainian. Like we're from, where like Lomachenko's from.
Oh,
he's got a title, I believe, too. But anyways.
Right. Yeah, okay. Well, that's interesting. And by the way, official scorecard in the chat room saying that, and he follows his divisions pretty closely. So he says Salas, who's Ioka's coach, wanted him to move up to 118 and fight Inoue. So that's something they had in mind, too. So, hey. If he's got the ambition, and possibly next year, if things work out for him and the Japanese loosen the restrictions, maybe we get him an honor roll. But let's keep in mind, fellas, we gave this guy a pass. Let's keep that in mind when we get to other fighters too. All right? Because sometimes we have seen it in the past. I'm not necessarily talking about you fellas, but talking overall. Sometimes we tend to switch our standards a little bit. So let's try to stay consistent with some of these guys.
Roger.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to try too. Don't because I mean that's the fun of this show. We're having a chat here, people in the chat telling us whether we're screwing up or not. Let's go to another Japanese fighter. Go to Naoya the Monster Inoue, whom I believe we gave him an honor roll in 2019. I think we gave him a pass in 2020, and now it's 2021 has come and gone, and he only fought. Well, I think he's going to fight twice this year, but he's going to fight on the 31st, I think, as well. But safe to say it wasn't a great year for Naoya Inoue.
BoxRec doesn't have him as a fight listed for the 31st. He just fought on the 14th of December, so I don't think
Right. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was confusing it with the Ioka. Okay, so he got 2 fights then, right?
Yes, he did get 2 fights in, both by knockout. Neither name jumps out at me as someone I go, oh yeah, I remember that guy. Not to say that if I really looked him up, I wouldn't be able to recognize him, but he fought once in 2020, COVID, but it was against Jason Maloney, who was a name and had some clout in the division. I don't recognize these 2 guys very much at all, but he stopped both of them relatively easily. For one of them, stopped him in the 3rd round. Stopped the second guy in 8. It doesn't look like he lost a single round on the scorecards. The other score to Desmarais, I think is how you say his name, is not shown on BoxRec.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't. But in 3 rounds, I doubt he was behind.
Exactly. Yeah.
So look, he's still ruling that division. I think he's one of the best fighters in the world. He can easily be argued to be the best, even though he's had slower years. But based off his skill, his power, and everything else, he can easily be considered the best. So I'm going to give him a pass. I can't give him higher than that because he did not unify. And fights fell through. You know what? Like you said at the beginning of the show, not all this stuff is going to be their faults. But he was supposed to fight. I thought he and Donaire were supposed to get in again, and then it became Donaire and I forget the other guy's name.
Casimero.
Casimero.
Yeah.
And then that fell through, and then it went Casimero and Rigondeaux, and we were left with dropped pieces of potential huge fights.
Mm-hmm.
Steve P in the chat said Top Rank dropped the ball with Inoue so far. He's right. Top Rank. I love Bob in certain ways historically. He needs to get off his butt with this guy. He signed him for a reason. He needs to get moving on this, and we need to start seeing more of this guy because he's a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer, and we need to see this guy.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Gonzalo, what do you think?
Yeah, this guy gets a low pass for me, and he passes because wow, okay, that's Naoya Inoue. He's undefeated. He has been on a tear, but in 2020, everybody was talking about him. You know, you could easily say his name because he was on the tip of your tongue when it comes to boxing talk. But in 2021, that fire kind of fizzled out, and I don't understand why. But when you're looking at your pound for pound list, you have to dig through your boxing bag to find his name and put him up there where he belongs. You know, in the top 3. But for some reason, that's becoming harder to do when it's recalling who this guy is, because supposedly, you know, he's got the skill and he's supposed to be this breakout superstar, which, like I said, hasn't been quite setting the world on fire as of late. Is it his fault? He's still got the potential and the skills to do that, but for some reason, he's not being promoted properly. We're just going to have to say maybe it's a little bit with the COVID, but there's some telltale signs with Bob Arum's behavior in relation to other fighters like Terrence Crawford that, you know, that might have something to do with it. So I have to give him a low pass, but definitely he's a talent, and we just have to keep keeping an eye on him because he's just that good.
I got to tell you,
Gonzalo. I'm sorry, go ahead, BDA.
I got to tell you, fellas, I feel like giving him a fail because, okay, it's not his fault, but like I said at the beginning of the show, it's whether it was his fault or not, it's what he accomplished that counts or what he didn't. And Desmarinas was okay. He was a good puncher, but he'd never really beaten anybody of note. And then this other Thai guy that he fought, or Filipino, I forget what it was. It's just, you know, with the standards we have for Inoue, knowing that what he's capable of, fighting this type of competition just doesn't get me going. And I don't think it got any boxing fan going out there. They didn't get our juices flowing.
Most of us didn't get to see it. I mean, I don't remember these being in any. They weren't on ESPN, and he's a top ranked fighter. So I would have had to stream them somewhere on for YouTube or something else to catch these fights. Because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. And someone in the chat, please feel free to put it up there. I don't remember these being on ESPN. If anybody remembers that, please type it right in.
Yeah, this Marina's fight was, but the second one wasn't.
Okay. So all right. So 50% of his fights this year were where we could get a hold of him. Mm-hmm. The other 50% was not. So again, something as a counterpoint to what Gonzalo was saying, I have to bring up is a lot of the other guys that are in his area are PBC fighters, and we all know, we've talked about this many times over, how Top Rank's not able to deliver PBC fighters. I know Rigondeaux has fought under their banner. I know that currently Donaire is, even though Donaire did get a fight with Inoue once already. So we have yet to see if Bob's going to be able to produce this for a super fight square off between.
Yep. Chief, you cut out there. Yeah, we can't hear you.
I'm gonna go off and come back on.
All right. Well, listen, you fellas, you gave your reasoning.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, just to wrap up, 2 title defenses, both by knockout. I know the competition wasn't great. That's why it can be a low pass, but it's still a pass. He's undefeated, still hasn't lost. He's still a multi-division champion. He had 2 title defenses this year, which is more than most people, which is about on par for boxing this year, and he knocked them both out. So I give him a low pass.
Well, all right. Listen, fellas. For the record, I want to give him a fail. But the way this works too, this ranking system or whatever we're doing here, it's based on democracy too. So if you guys, it's 2 against 1, we're gonna go with low pass.
That's an interesting point, BD, because he was like a roller coaster. He was like very high, then like very low, and if he kind of has like a same year like the one he had this year, it's gonna be like, I don't know, a definite fail. But you could even see by the look on that picture that he knows that he fails too. That he failed as well.
Yeah, that's right. Every picture tells a story, man. Or a picture's worth 1,000 words, rather. Now, I will say this, guys, and I think we can all agree, he's on academic probation. All right? So we're going to keep our eye on him. And on Top Rank, if they keep screwing him over. I don't know what's going on. I really don't care. Just get him some good fights. That's all we care about at the end of the day. All right. Let's go to... I don't even know if I want to do this one. Oh, no, actually, that's in a bigger category. All right, let's go to El Gallito. Juan Francisco Estrada. Only 1 fight this year. What a fight it was against Chocolatito Gonzalez. However, caveat here, he shouldn't have really gotten that decision. So, fellas, what do we think about Juan Francisco El Gallito Estrada's win over the great Chocolatito Gonzalez?
You want to go first, Chief?
This is a tough one because he got a win over a sure bout Hall of Famer, but most people think he didn't win it. And he only had 1 fight to boot, no other fights. Now, of course, they were supposed to fight again, and the fight fell through. But like you said, you can give a person a fail for no fault of their own. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer one day, but we're talking about what he did in 2021, and he got 1 controversial decision and nothing else. I've been passing everybody so far with lesser standards because they didn't beat someone like Gonzalez.
That's true, yeah. That's true.
I mean, at the 30 years from now, all we're going to see outside, unless we take the video with it, is he got a win over Roman Gonzalez. And that he's a Hall of Famer.
I mean, it's not like he got trashed every round and then they gave him the decision. It was a highly competitive fight.
You know what? You two vote because if you conflict, I'll be the tiebreaker.
All right, that's a good point. Yeah, Gonzalo.
Yeah, for me, I mean, these guys, the flyweights, you gotta do enough, and you gotta stay relevant because you are like a smaller fighter. And we think about great fighters like, I don't know, Ricardo Lopez. They're not even considered among the best fighters ever. Which actually, based on the skills, yeah, they do possess that talent where they should be mentioned along the greatest fighters of all time. So, but this guy in this generation, he's always been in the bottom portion of the top 10 pound for pound. And this year he only fought once, but with that performance, he gave a hell of a fight, which is considered in one of the top fights of this year. It's mentioned, in that category of one of the best fights of this year. But, the same as like you mentioned, and a lot of people do believe that the other guy won, another Hall of Famer in Román El Chocolatito Gonzalez. But with that being said, he's not a judge. I also thought Gonzalez won. But with that being said, like I was saying, I'm not a judge and he's not a judge. His only job is to set foot on the squared circle, give a performance, and he did. We can all agree on that. And the judges handed out the decisions to no fault of his own. And it's the COVID, so he only fought once. And it was a hell of a fight. So I'm just going to have to say I give him a pass, and that's going to be a low pass, but he still passes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Chief, have you come to a determination?
I thought it was a tiebreaker.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to see if you changed your mind. Well, before I go on, with my opinion here, or I give my ruling, or I mean my judgment. MMA champ in the chat says fail. He got a gift. Triple JJJ says wasn't a close fight at all. The Quack says fail. Hold on a second. Who else says? I had others. Anyway, yeah. Uncle Burnt Apostrophe says fail. I'm gonna agree with Gonzalo. I'm gonna say low pass. He'll pass because, again, he did beat the guy, and he didn't get schooled. I mean, somebody in the chat says schooled. I didn't think he got schooled. I thought the fact that he went head to head against Chocolatito and neither guy got buckled or anything is telling of how even they were in terms of abilities. Just Gonzalez had a little bit more better technique down the stretch. I believe Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez won, but Estrada did what he was supposed to do in there. I mean, he didn't bribe the judges, as far as I know. I mean, he didn't tell the judges, hey, you're gonna swing this for me my way, right? If it's close, I'm gonna go like GB Guthrie says in the chat, borderline pass. I'm gonna agree with Gonzalo and say low pass.
So that makes 3 then, because again, I know we're judging right now, but you got to look at this. It's like in hindsight of historically what we're doing. Years down the road, all anyone's going to see is that the only fight he had this year is against a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he himself is a first ballot Hall of Famer. And it's going to be more about the trilogy of their career than it's going to be than what he didn't do in 2021. So based off of that, people can say whatever they want on who they thought won. It wasn't a schooling. It was a tough fight. It was a competitive fight. We did a show on it. And I think my statement on it was the fact that numbers don't always show exactly what the performance was from the other guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you have 10-9, let's say that Gonzalo Chocolatito should have won every last round, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that would be 120 to 108. But in every round, Estrada's taking it to him and fighting him tooth and nail, but just coming up short. Then it's still a competitive fight, but on the scorecards, it still looks like it was a whitewash.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, man.
So, you know, your eyes don't always tell you what math adds up to. Sometimes they don't translate. So, having said that, I'm low pass. I think we're all in agreement. But again, academic probation. He needs to do something next year, especially with how the talent that he is and what he should and the division he's in. We expect more from him next year.
I agree, man. I think we need to see more from El Gallito. He needs to step it up, and we're gonna give him a low pass. We're gonna be generous, considering the fact that he fought a good fight, and I guess the quality of the opposition, but he shouldn't have won. So it makes it a very, very low pass here. Like I said, we're being generous. Let's see if we're generous with other fighters, though. We will see, man. We will see.
Yeah, I think he got a low pass last year, too, actually, because of the Caracas fight. Caracas is, I need glasses. I can't read like I used to. Anyway, well, because of that fight, and now because of this fight, Roman Gonzalez, we're giving him a low pass again. But again, he only had one fight each year. If he had a little bit more than that to go off of, especially with good performances, would be doing something different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true, man. But I mean, hey, listen, he's got some good opposition in front of him. He could still have a rubber match with Gonzalez, which apparently, according to BoxRec, is set for next March. And he's also got a potential rubber match with Sorong Visay. So things are looking good in there for him in terms of potential fights. But he needs to. I think other than Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez, he probably beats all of those other guys, including Sorong Visay. Although against Sorong Visay, I don't know why he fought righty when he had so much success as a southpaw in their first fight. But I mean, we'll see. All right, so that was Juan Francisco El Gallito Estrada. Now let's go to the other guy that we were talking about in that equation. Let me see if I can find him, though. What's going on here? There we go. The great Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. One fight this year, one loss. But like I said, what a fight he had. And it wasn't really a loss, according to, in my humble opinion. So, fellas, what do we do with Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez? I say pass. Let me just say right off the bat.
First of all, we've passed everybody so far. So why would we not pass him?
Yeah.
Second of all, like you said, the great fight that they had, the only thing that ruined that fight was the decision in most people's eyes. He fought a fellow first ballot Hall of Famer, tooth and nail, and by most people's observation, should have won the fight. And not to mention the year before, even though we're judging this year, became a title in a titleist once again this late in his career. So to be able to, at his age, still be able to compete at the highest level against someone like Estrada, who's still in his prime, whereas Chocolito's supposed to be on that downward side of the peak of his prime. How can you not give a guy a pass even if he loses? With that being his only fight.
Exactly. I agree. It's how you win, how you lose too sometimes. Gonzalo, do you agree or disagree?
Yeah, it's how you win, how you lose. It's like Bernard Hopkins when he fought, was it James Toney or Roy Jones? He lost, but when the night ended, he was a winner based on the performance he gave. Now, this is a solidified, at this point in time, he's a solidified world champion, future Hall of Famer, one of the greatest fighters of all time. And we cannot even call it that. This is the resurgence of El Chocolatito. He had a hiccup where he lost because I thought he beat Rungvisai the first time. But I think his trainer died, and that might have impacted the performance he had against Rungvisai. Anyways, it was just a hiccup. He came back, and he was knocking all these guys. He was knocking these guys out, like Moises Fuentes. Then he knocked out the other guy, the Olympian. And this year, he had only one fight, but, he's still on that warpath. And I thought he beat Estrada, another great fighter. So even though it was one fight and he lost on the scorecards, for me, I can't besmirch this guy, because he is a special fighter and he himself is very humble. So if he doesn't speak great about himself, which fighters shouldn't do, me as a fan, I'm going to do so. So I'm going to have to give him a high pass.
I agree. We're going to give him a pass. And it's been quite a career for Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. I mean, that's what happens with these guys that have this much skill and talent from the get-go at 23, 24. By the time they're 30 and 31, they bring to the ringer. They can have some bad performances, but if they take a year off or two, they can come back strong and add even more to the legacy. And that's what Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez is doing. It's not his fault the judges, whatever they were on, decided not to give him the win. It's a pass. It's not a high honor roll because he didn't get the win, and we do have to abide by the official decision. But it's about as good as it's about as good as he can get for somebody that actually took a loss in a year. So Chocolatito,
absolutely,
yeah. So
we're talking about how losses can define somebody. Mm-hmm. People don't remember. Now, BDA and Gonzalo, you guys might, but some of these listeners aren't going to remember the fact that Evander Holyfield was not a respected champion until he lost to Riddick Bowe.
That's true, man. And Pernell Whitaker, people besmirched him and lambasted him for his boring style, or what they perceived to be boring, the fact that his fights always went the same way. But when he showed that hard against Felix Trinidad, broken jaw, coked out of his mind. Well, I'm not sure to say that, but he was on the decline pretty much, and he stood in there against a bigger guy, bigger puncher, younger. People got the respect. Now look at him now. His career ended, and people have mad respect for him, as they say in the street. So, you're absolutely right there, Chief. That's an excellent point. Who do we? Oh, hey, Stephen Fulton, undefeated. Stephen Fulton had two wins this year. Of course, that war against Brandon Figueroa. Although again, some people say, "Well, he shouldn't have won." It was razor close, man, razor thin, whatever, however you want to say it. And then he had that win earlier. Hold on, I forget who he was. Oh, hold on a second.
I'm looking.
Angelo Leo. Oh yeah. Oh, listen, he fought Angelo Leo. And I remember, big puncher, undefeated. It was a pick and fight going in, and he outboxed him in that one. Actually, stood in there in certain pass too and beat him. And then he goes against Figueroa, another undefeated fighter. That's two undefeated fighters. Good performances, not boring. He's not running around the ring. He's actually standing his ground at times in fighting. He can punch. He can fight off the back foot. Guys, what do you say?
People might laugh at me on this one, but I might even say honor roll. It was a unification fight against an undefeated fighter. 2 undefeated fighters in a row. Now, the gentleman before Figueroa, Leo, was, I thought you said big puncher, but he was 20-0 with 9 knockouts.
All right, sorry, I should have said pressure fighter. Like vicious, he had a vicious style. No, actually, he did score a knockout, though. I think he scored a good stoppage or something before that fight. I forget, I guess, who he was. But anyway, sorry, I digress. Go ahead.
Well, like you said, just, there are punchers out there that, fighters out there that can hurt people and knock them down, but not knock them out. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that, that people walk right through their shots and don't want to get hit by them. Not everybody... just because you have a low knockout ratio doesn't necessarily mean that you can't get someone's attention, is what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have to give this kid the honor roll. A unification fight, 2 undefeated fighters in a row, both top contenders. And the Figueroa fight, just like Oscar Prince, I don't know how to say that guy's name, Oscar Prince in the chat said, he said it wasn't a war. I thought it was. I thought it was a pretty good war. So... it's going to have to be honor roll for me.
Gonzalo?
Yeah. For me, it's between the honor roll and high pass. I'm just going to have to say high pass. And that's pretty good because that Angelo Leo fight and, the type of fight that he displayed against a tall, lanky, which is bigger and longer fighter, in Figueroa was a good performance because Figueroa, pressure fighter with those advantages in size, try to pin him against the ropes, and he was successful at times. But if there's a guy that's got boxing ability that can't necessarily punch that hard, but can get out of a hard situation where this guy is trying to overwhelm you, and he's got the size advantages and is trying to pin you against the ropes. And somehow you're able to circumnavigate around, that type of opponent. Stephen Fulton's that guy. And if there's anybody else, which I doubt there is in that division that can put him in that type of situation, I think he'll do well again. And I don't think there's anybody like Brandon Figueroa to tell you the truth. So honestly, moving forward, he's going to show us what tools he's got in his tool bags, because obviously he was able to deal with Figueroa, which was a close fight, could have gone either way, and he got the nod. So I'm going to have to say it's a high pass.
Gonzalo, there's people in the chat disagreeing. They're saying that he shouldn't have gotten the win over Figueroa, but I think you guys made some very good arguments, man. And I'm going to have...
There's only so much... BD, there's only so much you can do when you got a taller, longer, a bigger fighter that's pushing you back against your will. And credit to Figueroa, he did what he was supposed to do, be physical. But when Fulton got put into that situation, the boxer did what he needed to do in order to do his best to kind of thwart that effort that Figueroa was bringing, that fire that Figueroa was bringing. And he did a good job. He did the best he could do. And with that being said, I think he did well enough to where, it was a close fight and it could have gone either way.
Figueroa cost himself earlier in the fight by smothering his shots by being too aggressive and not maintaining his space and distance. Mm-hmm. And a fighter of his caliber trying to go for a unification fight with in a boxing family, which he's from, should know how to do that. And I don't think Fulton caused him to smother his punches. He got in too aggressive and didn't maintain his space that he needed to win those early rounds. And that's what cost him. Some of these shots where he threw too many punches that didn't have any effect, it's because he didn't maintain his space. He didn't maintain his distance. He cost himself that fight in that situation. I'm not saying he lost. Mm-hmm. I'm saying by not solidifying the win on the cards, because it was a close fight even on the cards, it's because he smothered himself. And he should know better than to do that at this stage of his career. So, and then Fulton took advantage by, okay, you're going to smother. I'm going to do my job. So,
exactly. Well, listen, be that as it may, good points. Fulton did what he had to do in there. He got, like you said, two wins against undefeated opposition, guys who are credible opposition, unified, got himself a bunch of titles. He actually, it was some sort of mini tournament, if I remember correctly, that they'd set up where he fought Angelo Leo and Figueroa fought Neri, and then the winner of those fights would fight each other. So anytime a boxer signs up for a commitment like that, I give him major props. And like Gonzalo said, Brandon Figueroa is going to do this to a lot of guys. He knocked out Luis Neri, backed up the puncher, and made him quit. Because, made him quit. I shouldn't have said that, but he Neri couldn't get up. So when Figueroa keeps fighting other guys, I think this win for Fulton is going to look very good. Was it close and competitive? Yes. But I thought he won those two fights. I'd have to rewatch the Figueroa fight, though. All I have to say is I agree with Chief and Gonzalo. Actually, Gonzalo, you gave him a pass, right? You said pass, but I'm going to go ahead and say honor roll.
Sure.
Just like Chief.
Cool.
All right. Stephen Fulton, good job, man. Hopefully he continues. He's got, who else he could fight, Gonzalo? MJ, Akhmadaliev, who's struggling as a Chilean. That fight, man. If he beats him, Akhmadaliev, or schools him in next year or whatever, if hopefully that happens, that fight happens, that's an honor roll right there. A potential honor roll.
Yeah, because what are those? Where are those guys from Uzbekistan? And they were like, they were very much talked about. Maybe like in 2020, based on their boxing style, right? So he's kind of a guy that also changes the angles. We'll see how he fares against that style.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Hey, man, we've been pretty fair so far. Fair, generous, some could say. I wouldn't be surprised. But hey, listen, I think last year, I remember when Stu was here, we were doling out a lot of fails. But that was 2019. It was a different year. 2019 and 2020.
We were combining 19 and 20 together due to the fact not much had happened in 20. And
right.
We were still giving some fails, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. Hey, by the way,
Stu's not as generous as we are, though, and I'm not talking trash about Stu. He holds people to a high standard, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, very high standard, man. Chris K, shout out to Chris K. Say, let's go, Brandon. All right, Chris K. Shout out to Chris K, aka Undercover Asian. All right, let's see who we move on to next. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas, if you enjoy our content and you're enjoying what you're seeing, and give your opinion. Keep giving your opinion there in the chat about these fighters. About these decisions, rather. Who do we got next here? We're at super bantamweight. I was gonna do Rey Vargas, but he's not doing much. I'm not even gonna go for him. Come on, where's Navarrete?
Yeah, he looks like Beavis and Butthead.
He's a weird looking guy, that's for sure. But we're not judging people on their looks here. All right, let's go to Emmanuel Navarrete, El Vaquero, the cowboy. I have to refresh my memory here. Who he fought, or unless somebody has it already up, the box, Rick. Because I know obviously
I got it. So he fought Christopher Diaz, who was 26-2, followed by Joet Gonzalez at 24-1.
Mm-hmm.
One was a 12th round knockout, which it didn't look like he lost too many rounds. The other one was I think we all watched it together through Discord. Pete had it on, and we were watching it. And the scores 116, 112, 116, 112, 118, 110.
Mm-hmm.
The guy he fought was tough. That Gonzalez kid was tough. He's one of my favorite fighters that doesn't get a lot of talk about. Going back to, was it 2020? No, it must have been 19. Yeah. 2019, having 4 title defenses, and let's see how many were by knockout. 1, 2, 3, 4 by knockout, and and Canelo got Fighter of the Year. 4 title defenses. How many people do that? Canelo did it this year, or close to it. But when not many, before COVID, when people are still fighting twice a year, this guy fights 4 times and gets 4 knockouts, and they're all title defenses. One of them against a comeback fight against Isaac Dogbo, who at the time was still considered a really good prospect and a young champion. Fast forward all the way up to now. He'll put it this way. In 2020, during COVID, he fought twice.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then in 21, he didn't really disappoint. He fought twice. I mean, he's not very high on Bob Arum's list. We know that. And but he fought twice against two guys with really good records. He got a win, so it's 2 title defenses. He's definitely got a pass. It could be a low pass, medium pass. It's not going to be a high pass because these weren't top of the notch guys. Diaz, let's see here. What has he done since then? Yeah, he lost to Dogbo immediately after, so he's 26-4 now. So losing his very next fight, and then Gonzalez had lost to Shakur Stevenson 2 fights ago. Wasn't exactly like he was on the biggest winning streak at the time. So he has 2 title defenses against 2 people that were supposedly ranked. He beats them both, one by knockout, low pass.
Low pass. Oh, okay. Gonzalo?
Low to medium.
I'm gonna give him a high pass, but not honor roll, because this guy has been consistent in the sense that he's displayed the same type of hurricane-esque style, where he's a pressure fighter, but he doesn't have to be right on your chest to pressure you. He can do it from afar, with them long uppercuts that almost resemble like a bolo type of a punch. He can catch you from the outside while still pressuring you from afar, because he's got the long limbs. And he's moved up in weight, and he's still keeping that consistency in the sense that he's always breaking you down and stopping you in the middle to the latter half of the fight, as he started. When he first showed us against Dogbo and Francisco de Vaca, and from there on forward, he's been kind of doing the same things: break you down and beat you up, or beat you up and break you down, and getting the stoppages. And with Joel Gonzalez, a fighter, and by the way, Pitufo Diaz and Joel Gonzalez are back on the winning trail, I believe. They won their last 2 fights. They're solid opponents, but Joel Gonzalez went in there with Shakur, and yeah, Shakur won, but Shakur kind of fought in that, I'm going to land one punch and I'm going to go on the defensive mode and try to beat you like that, a tit for tat. Yeah, he won clearly, but it wasn't like a war, and Navarrete went in there with Gonzalez and beat him from pillar to post. By the end of the fight, he was looking like one of his former opponents, as I mentioned, like the Bulls of the world, beat you up and break you down. And he did that to Joel Gonzalez. So to me, it's interesting to see how that would play out between him and Shakur Stevenson. So this guy's been pretty solid and pretty consistent with his with his fights. And I'm just going to have to give him a high pass. Not on the roll, but high pass, because I still want to see him against another marquee fighter.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's a
I'd give him a high pass if he had his usual schedule type of a third fight this year. So I said low pass. It was probably being too rough on him, and I've been very generous tonight, so I'm not trying to turn coat on how I'm doing everything. He's the kind of guy that when everything's healthy, he'd fight 3 to 4 times a year. He fought twice. So I'm holding that part against him because he usually fights more than this. And it's not necessarily his fault. Like you said, if some guy gets a fail, it may not be his fault. I don't know if we're going to talk about Triple G later, but Triple G is probably going to get a fail because he didn't do anything this year. It's not his fault. Those fights fell through. But the bottom line is Navarrete is a very busy fighter, not just in activity, but in title defenses. He only had 2 fights. That's why I'm kind of giving him a mediocre. He's one of my favorite guys. He just didn't do much this year.
Well, let me say that. Oh, by the way, we got Jimmy dropping by. Jimmy,
hello.
How you doing, Jimmy?
Listen.
What?
I said, every day above ground's a good day, right?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, listen. We're happy you're here. We're doing the usual annual boxer report cards. Now that the year is nearing its end, and we're looking back at some of the tough fighters, and you know how it works. Remember the drill? We give
I know.
Pass, honor roll, or fail. Right now, we're at Emmanuel Navarrete, who fought twice.
How many guys have you gone? How many guys in are you?
I think about 6, 7. We're trying to go
I'll
fast.
I'll fire, if you want to go back, I'll fire them off. I won't give any explanation. I'll just pass, fail, honor roll.
Well, we'll
All right.
get to it later, maybe, because we got a lot. We still
Oh,
have a
okay.
lot to get to. And
all right, 'cause-
Emmanuel Navarrete.
honor roll.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I feel like a jerk now because he's one of my favorite guys, and I only gave him like a regular pass. But you and Gonzalez spoke higher of him than I did.
Well, I just speak. To me, he put himself as the guy to beat in that division.
Good point.
You know what I
Right.
mean? And by taking that, he took that in 2021. He proved to me that it wasn't just like, some guys can just catch lightning in a bottle in a couple of fights in a row even, but this kid seems to get more. And even to all the things I heard Gonzalez say, so I won't just bother, copying everything he said, but it's his confidence, man. You can't. He really believes he can take out anybody. And you can see it in the way he fights. I really like the kid. But so, yeah, definitely honor roll for him.
I'm going to have to disagree here and say pass as well. A good, solid pass. But honor roll is reserved for guys that went above and beyond what they were supposed to. Now, Navarrete gets good credit based on how he beat those guys. Like Gonzalo said, Joed Gonzalez, he beat him up. He took some lumps himself too, took some shots, but man, he just busted him up. And Christopher El Pitufo Diaz too, he just blasted him out of there. Christopher El Pitufo Diaz, by the way, lost to Isaac Dogboy by majority decision. But nobody, when he fought Ito and lost, he didn't get stopped. When he fought Stevenson, he didn't get stopped. Navarrete just busted him up. Now, I don't know if Christopher Diaz was a top 10 guy, but it's still solid opposition. Same thing with Joey Gonzalez, but they weren't the best. So I can give him an honor roll, despite how well he beat those guys up. So I'm going to have to say pass. And I think that's a tiebreaker there. Oh, no, actually, that's a tie right there.
Well, no, Gonzalez said
pass,
high pass, not honor roll.
Oh, okay.
Jimmy said honor roll.
There's a high pass. I forgot the high pass. I should have went with that then. I thought it was pass, honor roll, fail.
No. Well, the honor rolls are very rare. Those are exceptional, like I said. So let's get
okay. So, yeah, no, I would have gone with just a high pass then. Because that would have been then one knock is the lack of competition, like the level of guys he did it against. But I still give him a very high pass because I really think when you make everybody in the division look at you as the guy to beat, that to me is a huge thing, psychologically alone.
I was gonna go with Gary Russell Jr., but every year it's been the same for the past 3 years. One fight a year. I mean, I can't do this anymore, man. I don't think.
He's got his annual his annual paycheck coming up pretty soon.
His annual paycheck.
Longest reigning champion in boxing.
Yeah, imagine that, man.
And if he retired tomorrow, would anybody care?
No. Unless he fought.
So what does that tell you?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at this point, I think it's ridiculous to even continue with a failed pass. We know what it is with this guy. By the way, Michael Poe, we're not going to be taking calls right now, man, because we got to get through this list. Or I might open it. I don't know. Let me see in 10 minutes to see how many names we get through. Because usually, the last 3 years we've been doing this, it takes us like 4 hours to get through it. So, because sometimes we get into disagreements. So, let's go to Shakur Stevenson. Oh, by the way, Jimmy, can you see the page I'm sharing? Because I'm sharing the screen here. So, hopefully,
let me turn on my computer. Then I didn't know it was a computer thing. All right.
Well, it's just for the visual.
All right, not the computer, the TV. Let me just put it on the TV. All right, I got it.
I just have mine on TV, talking on my phone.
All right, let's start with what's his name here? Shakur Stevenson, who had that stoppage win over Jamel Herring. Jamel or Jamel? And whatever. He had that stoppage win. He seems to have arrived with that win. What do you fellas say? Honor roll, pass, fail?
Can't say honor roll because he didn't unify the title. He just went from interim to world champion. But he beat Herring down, and Herring even though he's on the lower side of his career, was coming off a huge win of the same year against Carl Frampton. I mean, gave Frampton a career-ending beating. Mm-hmm. And so the stage was set, the table was set, the main course was there, and he gave him a straight. I mean, he didn't lose. I'm sorry, one judge had him losing a round. Edward Canner had Shakur felt bad for Herring and gave Herring 1 round, which I didn't see. Now, I think the other one was Jeremiah Nakathali was
The African dude.
Yeah, the African police officer. And but he didn't lose a round in that fight either. So basically, in 22 rounds, he lost 1 round on one guy's scorecard. Given his performance against I don't know how to say it, guys, Nakathale was not impressive. Even though he won every round, he didn't do anything that made us say, "Wow, he's the next great thing." But he didn't lose a single round. I mean, what's one thing Steve Kim says when you go for pound, how many rounds did they lose? So 1 year and 22 rounds, he lost 1 round on one guy's scorecard.
That's a good
That's
point.
got to be a high pass.
That's a good point. It's how you win too, right? I mean, it's Gonzalo. What do you think?
I'm gonna give him a high pass. I was tempted to give him the one before that. What is it? Just regular pass, then high pass.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just gonna give him a high pass because I recall the fighter that he fought before. He fought Jamel Herring. He said that he didn't like to get hit when he caught a lump, underneath his eye. So that was like it that just stayed in my mind. This guy, he's a fighter, but he doesn't like to get hit. But to his credit, he fought Jamel Herring, and he did something else that really noticed and also stuck in my mind. This guy, he has hand problems. By the way, he won that fight thoroughly. He beat Jamel Herring convincingly. He knocked him out. But this guy's got hand problems, right? But you know how we say, that timing, that timing beats speed, and we have like power punchers, and this guy's not necessarily a power puncher because he's got hand problems. But he has 2 things that are very good. He has timing and he has speed. And he's kind of accurate, too. So when you couple those things together, that rivals punching power. Sorry, there's a motorcycle passing by. That rivals punching power. The guy can hit hard because he has timing and he has speed. So the guy, now he's perceived as a guy that, that Oscar Valdez is ducking. So for me, it's a high pass. And, he beat, like I said, Jamel Herring convincingly.
Jimmy, what do you think?
With Shakur, definitely a high pass. It's his progression. I honestly thought when he first came out, man, just go back, look at his first 10 fights. If you had a problem sleeping, just slap on one of his fights, man. It put you right out. And it wasn't his power, man. He hung on to that amateur style for a long time. He wasn't punching to his target. A lot of things. And to see him, I'm not giving him the credit like some other people might, not on this panel, but I'm just saying he got a lot of credit for beating Herring. To me, it wasn't a question of if he was going to beat him. It was just always a question of how severe. And he beat him even worse than I thought he would. Mm-hmm. And obviously, Jamel Herring's choice of going in the way he fought the fight was the worst. But even still, into all the things Gonzalo stated, accuracy, speed, he's got it both. And timing, and he's actually a really, really accurate puncher. And he stood in it and he learned from a mistake. When remember at the last fight, I think before Herring, the guys were like, this is what you do. I mean, I think it was Timmy Bradley who gave him a cut. Wasn't it his fight? He kind of really laid into him about, you got to make fans want to see you fight. And to me, I think he learned, and he came in with Herring and he fought him. He didn't try to hide from him. So, yeah, I give him a high pass.
I agree, Jimmy, with what you said about the Herring fight because, it's always good when a fighter gets criticized about fighting too boring when he could have done something. Because, let's face the facts. The Nakatalia fight was one of the worst fights of 2021. And some people say, yeah, well, he fought a puncher. Yeah, but, Stevenson was honest enough to say, look, I was scared in that fight. He was hurt and he didn't want to take too much of a risk. But he said, I'll take one later. And we criticized him for that, and we also asked him, hey, step it up. We're not saying he has to get into a slugging match. We just said, let your hands go. And guess what he did? He let his hands go against Jamel Herring. Now, is he going to do this if he fights Navarrete or Valdez? I don't think so, but I don't expect him to know, and I'm not going to criticize him too much for it if he does so, because at least now he's showing, look, when he fights a guy that can crack all that much at that weight class or who's a little bit sharp-born maybe or past it, he'll take him out. And that's what we wanted to see. So I'm going to give him a pass, or even a high pass, rather. he didn't unify. He didn't jump up a division or anything like that crazy. So it's not an honor roll, but it's a pass, man. And he did something that boxing fans always appreciate, which is he stepped it up in terms of style. So I'm gonna give him a pass, like all you guys said. And I think that's an undisputed pass right there. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. If he would have had two performances like the one against Nakatalia, then yeah, maybe it could have been a very low pass. But be that as it may, they didn't happen that way, and it's good for Shakur Stevenson. Hopefully, he gets his big fights in the coming year. All right, let's go to... Don't forget that the like, fellas, really helps us out, man. Hit that like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Where's Shakur Stevenson? All right, we already did him. All right, so remind me of who else we got. 130. We got. Oh, okay. Let's go to now. This should be interesting. This is a juicy one here. Controversial. Oscar Valdez. Who wants to start with this one?
It's a fate. Yeah, man. If a face could tell a story, that's the one.
Gonzalez,
man, they erected a statue in Sonora, Mexico. To honor him. Jesus, man. This was after that fight he had against the Olympian guy that he lost to in the amateurs, which he beat. And I rewatched the fight. I know you try to stay away from that fight, BDA, because of moral standards. But to be honest, I rewatched that fight, and as you can see by the marks on his face, he was saying that one guy, the Brazilian, was running away. But look at how beat up he looks, And I rewatched the fight, and I actually had a change of opinion. I thought that the Brazilian guy actually won in a close fight. The only thing that the Brazilian did wrong, I can't recall his name right now. Robson Conceição. One thing that he did wrong was when he was, landing the flurry here and there, he was getting on the back foot and he was raising his arms, chanting in victory, which was a bad look for Conceição. But in the end of the day, yeah, he was getting on the back foot and he was still extending his limbs and touching touching Valdez up. He was tattooing his face. So he was catching him as Valdez was coming forward. Conceição was getting on the back foot, but he was stretching to his limits, and he was catching him at the end of his wheelhouse while not allowing Valdez to step in and punch through the target. And also Valdez, what he didn't show either was a variety of punches. He didn't vary it up. So by the end of the fight, I would have to say that I thought Conceição won, but maybe he got robbed. So I'm just going to have to say it's a fail for this guy because, he also tested positive for that prohibited substance, and they put a statue in his hometown, which I thought it was kind of like laughing at the fans.
Okay, so you're saying fail then? Gonzalo?
Yeah, that's it.
Fail. So you said fail. Okay. Because I got to keep track of this. Who wants to go next?
I'll go quick. I'll just say fail for everything Gonzalo said. And his stock fell huge in my eyes. All right, Chief.
Okay, so you point out some good points on a controversial fight that he still got the win at the end of the day, which is all that matters. Even if we don't like it. Now, we can hold that against how high or low we grade him in a certain category for that. But the point is, he just became a 2-division champion this year by knocking out the number one guy in Miguel Burchett, and then turns around and shits the bed, pardon my French, immediately by testing positive and having a bad title defense. 50-50 usually makes a D. D is still passing. I give a low pass. Very low pass.
Okay.
But if it weren't for the Burchett fight, I would be on with you guys saying fail. But he owned Burchett. And Burchett may have been struggling to make weight, like I've been saying on this panel many times over. I think that's one of the reasons why Oscar Valdez looks so good, is because Burchett was struggling to make weight. But what do you do when you're a young fighter against a guy that doesn't deserve to be in the ring with you? Exactly what he did to Burchett. He made a statement. Yeah. He knocked him out. And we don't know if he did anything crooked to make that fight, make himself in a positioned to have an advantage in that fight. We just know that those two went in against each other and who came out on top.
Okay, man.
Yeah,
That's
sorry. I hate to sound wishy-washy, but I forgot about the Burchell fight. I thought it was like last year. No, but it was this year. And that was a knockout. I actually picked Valdez to win that fight. And I think it was one of the candidates for knockout of the year. So it's like Chief was saying 50-50. I think I'm going to give him a low pass because I had totally forgot about that fight. If not, it's a...
Well, this is interesting. Like I said in the beginning, juicy pick here because I'm going to give him a fail. So we're at a stalemate here. I'm going to go to the chat and let them be the tiebreaker. Unless
official
Bucho
said, I forgot about Burchett Lopez. So that's one person agreeing with me and Gonzalo. I don't know, but I'm waiting to see who else said anything else yet.
Because I mean, look, we keep going with Canelo. We still rank him. People still talk about James Stoney as a potential all-time great. Shane Mosley, those guys all failed, or those guys took rather, because Mosley never failed, but he admitted he took something. So this isn't Major League Baseball where if you tested positive once, boom, that's it, you're done. But at least when it comes to this year, we can have pretty high standards. And this dude tested positive for a PD. A loophole allowed him to fight. And then he didn't even look all that good. And then, you know what, man? It's also the attitude that we got to take into consideration when we're judging these guys' years. This guy had the temerity and the gall to say after the fight, people were booing him. And he goes, I've been through a lot. I shouldn't be going through this. I go, you've been through a lot. You fucking tested positive. Now, look, certain fighters don't know that they're taking stuff. I can believe that. Sometimes the trainers, nutritionists, they don't tell them for plausible deniability, but the facts remain the same. The science doesn't lie. This guy tested positive for a banned substance. And I remember people making the excuse, yeah, but it wasn't steroids or, EPO, it was a diuretic. Well, whatever. If it's you're not supposed to be taking that stuff. And it wasn't, green tea or whatever that was a diuretic. It was something that was some sort of other medicine or something. So I'd go with fail, man. What are people saying? The Burchell KO was brutal. Nothing wrong with a little tea, says Johnny Blazer, right? CMD Boxing Report says it's a fail for testing. DMUT says everyone cheats. All right, yeah, but that doesn't really help us out.
Robert Cantu says Lopez.
It's one of those things with the PDs that you can never really confess. All you have to do is deny, because if you confess, you're screwed, right? It's like when I broke into my little cousin's piggy bank when I was a little kid. They said, Gonzalo, you broke into the piggy bank to steal all the quarters to buy beer. No, it wasn't me. Deny till this day. They knew I did it.
Well, even for me, it's not even so much the failed drug test, because I think the majority of the guys are doing some diuretics or something. I really do. But I thought he looked terrible his last outing. And I thought Burchell, honestly, yes, it was a great knockout. There was something off with that dude right from the rip. He was just there to be hit like never before. He's sluggish, unreactionary, all the things you are when you're wicked weight trained and you're dry. And
that's not Valdez's fault.
No, it's not. But then again, it's how much weight am I going to give him on that? And for me, I'm looking at it, his stock. Looking at him at the beginning of the year, yes, he won. I was like, wow, good knockout of Burchell. But as of today, from the start of the year to the end of the year, in my eyes, his stock has fell. And if a fighter's stock, in my eyes, has fallen, I'm going to give him a fail. That's just my, judge thing. That's all. I'm not saying I agree with everything you said too. I could definitely, I could see where you're going with that. I just throw that one thing in for me. Maybe I'm making it too personal, but I don't know. Was that making it too personal?
No. Look, let's be fair. He cheated, and then they still went through the fight, and he still didn't look good on top of that. I mean, but what would we have said if he would have wiped the floor with the guy and he still cheated? That was going to be a gray cloud over that performance, regardless of how it turned out.
You see, this is where I'm just going to say something real quick in regards to how he's fighting. And it's not a knock on the trainer of the year, Eddie Reynoso, but a lot of these fighters, he's in the same team as him. But there's other fighters that are not with Reynoso, but what I'm trying to say, they're trying to emulate Canelo's style too much. And what Valdez did wrong in this fight, he came forward, but he didn't display it like a lot of variety in shots. And that's where he lost the fight, man.
Let's go with, you know what, man? Let's fucking, people in the chat, there's a lot of people saying, I didn't really count the ratio, but I mean, I see a lot of people saying fail. Let's go with the fail, man. We got to keep and I know made this personal by...
more people, you're right. I was reading it too. I got my TV on while we're watching, and it looks like more people said fail than pass. Anybody that did say pass said low pass, just like I said. So I'm still going to give him a D. I'll stick by my low pass, but Mr. BD, it's your show, and based off of what I saw more fails than people siding with me. So,
well, I can see I can see your argument. I understand it, but I mean, it's and besides, it's a time issue too. We got to move on. So let's just give him a fail. The first fail of the night, of the evening, and it goes to Oscar Valdez.
Well, yeah. For some reason, this guy came off like a real shitbag.
Yeah, he did.
Came off like a real shitbag.
He did. Fucking, I've been through a lot, man. What about us, man? What about Gonzalez I? I mean, is it fair that he's fighting a cheater? And I mean, I hate, take the L. You tested positive. Try to do a PR move and not mention it anymore, or whatever, and that's it. But I mean, it's.
I've been through a lot, but this $1 million I got right here should make me feel a little better this weekend. Fuck out of here, man.
Exactly, man.
Come on.
Hey, let's go.
And to top it off, they put a statue in your hometown of you.
In Sonora, yeah. But I mean,
but it wasn't bronze though.
Oh,
was it?
No, I'm just joking. I mean, like he was complaining about the statue. It was just freaking. It was only made of concrete.
Yeah, it was not made out of gold, man. All right, let's go to. Hey, I forgot this guy because the list is all over the place. So forgive me for that. Let's go back to 126 because I forgot Mauricio Lara, who beat Josh Warrington, the first upset of the year, sensational win over an. Yes.
Do you think do you think that kid's should to make the night not take, like you said, 4 hours? Should we stay with the I was gonna say like all the best known of the guys, like this dude's kind of on the scene just recently. What do you think?
Well, listen, let's go through it fast then, because look, he beat Josh Warrington.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah,
he beat Warrington, who was a sensational fighter. He'd beaten Frampton, he'd beaten Selby, Kid Galahad. Okay, not a big puncher, but that's why I respect him even more, because he's not a big puncher. He does it all through stamina, work rate, chin, heart. And this guy comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, he's the kid who went to London and took out the kid who was on the upscale, right? Kid Galahad, whatever his name was.
No, this guy took out Warrington, Josh Warrington. And
Warrington. Okay,
consider this: he beat him down, knocked him out. He came out of nowhere. But in the rematch, there was a headbutt. It was a no contest. That's not either guy's fault, but it was only one fight, one big win. I give him a high pass. What do you guys say?
I got to give him a high pass. Yeah.
Well, it definitely has to get a pass, high pass or regular pass, like you said, because the second fight was stopped a little early. But he went into a foreign country to beat the hero and the favorite guy. So yeah, that's definitely a pass to high pass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's aggressive. Look at the size of his neck. For the size of a man he is, he's got a pretty big neck.
Well, he's also, what he's doing there, dude, that's kind of a fucking fraudulent pose. He's pulling his elbows out and pushing his elbows, so he's rolling up his shoulder girdle. You know what it does? Makes your neck look wider. Yeah, his neck isn't as wide as it looks there. It's the way he's posing.
Yeah, you could even say that maybe Warrington decided to opt out of that fight by being dirty, so the fight could get stopped the way it did. You never know.
Yeah, you never know, man. But I mean, hey, listen. The fact is, he didn't get 2 wins. He probably would have beaten Warrington again, but we'll never know because I mean, I don't know if that rematch is happening.
So does he even have a belt now? So he's a belt holder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know. Hold on.
No, I don't think so.
It doesn't look like a belt was on line against Warrington. So, but
I thought he was.
I was just looking box rec. I didn't see a belt on that.
Well, who cares about the belts, right? It's I mean, he beat a guy that was. He beat a.
I just want to know if he was a champion. I usually remember most of the champs.
Right, but I didn't mean that. I didn't mean it as in fuck what you're saying. But I'm saying, like, regardless of whether there were belts on the line or not, it was he still beat the man. You know what I mean? And by the way, GB Godfrey says that the IBF stripped him apparently. I wonder why. Oh no! Then Mitch L says Warrington dropped the belt. So I don't know. Who knows what happened? But no belt on the line. But still, like
anyway,
I said,
still a pass.
Yeah. So everyone says pass. Good. By the way, shout out to Rafael Gadesa who just joined the BDA membership program. Shout out to you, Rafael. Really appreciate it, and hope you enjoy the content, the badges and all that. And we'll continue to streamline more things in there, more badges as we go along, and more emojis. All right. So we said
badges. We don't need no stinking badges.
What's that?
I thought I was going to get more laughs than that.
Oh, you said the thing. sorry, because I was doing two things at the same time. Yeah, sorry, I was doing two things at the same time, so I kind of missed it. But I caught it at the end.
Yeah, I was laughing, but I had it on mute.
Oh, come on. Well, listen, let's go to that's Mauricio Lara. And by the way, we're gonna skip Warrington because he gets. I guess he could get a fail because he lost the fight, and then in the rematch it was no contest. So last year I think he got the honor roll, but anyway, we'll skip that one. Let's go to Burchelt. I mean, that was a fail too because he ended up getting iced and then he didn't fight again for the rest of the year. We said screw Gary Russell Jr. because he just doesn't seem to want to do anything of note. So where are we at now? Are we at lightweight?
Well, we could shouldn't that in itself get him a fail, an automatic fail?
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't even fight this year. Gary Russell Jr. I say he gets a fail.
Well, you give him a fail, but he did his normal one fight a year. He did it last February, I do believe, and he's about to have a fight coming up in the beginning of January, like he always does. So he's about to get 100% of his income off of his one fight.
Well, his deferred income, from ABC. But he ducks people. There's offers out there. There's fights to be made, and he doesn't fight the best.
No, you know what I mean? He had the fail. I'm just letting you know he did have one fight.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just giving my reasons for disliking the dude. Even though he's probably the most skilled champion the PBC has overall right now. I'd say Boots Ennis. I'm really putting him up high, but he hasn't been tested yet. But Gary Russell's
he's also not a full-fledged PBC fighter. He just fights on Showtime, and Showtime uses PBC as their banner,
their vessel. So, in essence, right? I mean, it's true. Like, so Heyman doesn't make the calls with him, but he's up to if he's fighting. If his guy's only going to keep him fighting on Showtime, then in essence, he's a PBC fighter because they're the only guys who are going to be fighting there. You see what I'm saying? Like, I say it all the time, too. I'm the one always pointing out, too, that he's not a PBC guy but in the same sense. But at the same token, if this guy hasn't shown any, has he even shown any interest in sending him over to the DAZN or, letting him fight on, a top rank card? I haven't even heard of any interest. So
there's
because my thing is this, Heyman. Oh, I'm sorry, Gonzalez. I was going to say finish this one thing. Heyman, everything, even if he's not his fighter, if he's going to be fighting Heyman fighters, Heyman's the type of dude to put shit in the contract to make him like, you know what I mean? If you beat a belt, if you fight a champion, you have to fight on pro. You owe me one more fight. The PBC, that's the reason why a lot of his negotiations fall apart. He asks a lot. That's why Canelo walked away. He started putting all his Al Heyman shit in, and he's like, nope, you're not going to get me for multiple fights. It's just not going to happen. I'm not signing that away.
Well, at the end of the day, the guy keeps fighting once a year against relatively nondescript opposition. I mean, that Mongolian guy he fought last gave him a very tough fight, and he's a tough dude. But one fight a year, especially considering that he is a good fighter, Gary Russell Jr. I mean, we just skipped him, and if we would have gone with him, we'd probably give him a fail. I think we gave him a fail last year too. But in any event,
as Chaz Palminteri, Sonny from the movie Bronx Tale used to say, there's nothing worse in the world than wasted talent.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah. It's true, man. Yep. It's very frustrating. Let's go to Devin Haney. We're at the lightweights now. Devin Haney, who beat Jorge Linares by decision and then decisioned Jojo Diaz. 2 solid wins.
Yeah.
I'm going to give him a pass.
I give him a pass. I like this guy, man. This guy's exciting. He's always one punch away from getting knocked the fuck out.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I like that. It's exciting. I give him a pass. That's all I have to say.
Well, he didn't almost get knocked out.
A pass too.
But he didn't almost get
pass.
knocked out by. Okay, everyone says pass, but he almost didn't get knocked out. Gonzalo, what are you talking about?
No.
By Diaz.
Well, by Linares he did. By Linares he almost certainly did. BDA.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. I mean, he still had his bell rung even in the 12th round. You know,
What keeps him from getting a high pass is the fact that he fought his third featherweight in a row, and he's still winning by scores of like 8-4, sometimes 9-3. But they're closing in on his scores are starting to close in at the world class level. And again, he was a lightweight in the amateurs. At 17 years old, he's fighting 132 pounds. This is the third guy that fought at 126 pounds as a grown man. He's 17 and fighting at 132. These are grown men fighting at 126. And he's not buckling them or anything else. It's not that he doesn't have skill. It's not that he doesn't have potential. It's the fact that there's nothing. It's vanilla ice cream without sugar. It's just plain.
All right.
There's nothing special what he brings that makes me go, man, you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of Ray Leonard. That reminds me of Ray Robinson. That reminds me of Sugar Shane Mosley when he was coming up. That reminds me of all these people that I'm mentioning that are in the Hall of Fame. He doesn't remind me of any of them. And he reminds me of Tyrone Crawley. That's who he reminds me of.
Well, he's good. To me, he's exciting. He's athletic, and he's got the speed to overwhelm his opponents like he was doing with Linares. But the thing about him is he could be winning a fight, 10-1, and all of a sudden in one round, he can all of a sudden give it up, by maybe getting caught with the wrong punch. And he just shows a little bit of a vulnerability in certain instances when he's pretty much dominating a fight. That's what makes me, pay attention to his fights, because he's that good, but all of a sudden he could just crumble.
Yeah, that's what makes it interesting. Jimmy, what?
Well, I was going to say, he's got an excellent jab. He really does. He's got a good stick. To me, what I'm impressed about this kid, he comes in at 135 on the night, right? But he, when he get in the ring, he looks like he's 145 ripped, 150. He looks like, a heavy welterweight. And that tells me, that he takes the weight off right. That tells me he trains right. That's usually a sign when someone can rehydrate with that much muscle. You can tell the kid takes his training serious. Mm-hmm. So I give him credit that, but he is the vulnerability of getting rung by Linares and still being shook. And when he didn't really push toe-to-toe with, who did he just fight? Was it Diaz?
Jojo Diaz.
Yeah. And I mean, Jojo Diaz, you gotta love him, right? He's just gonna come forward, throw punches, but it is what it is with him. But he didn't show like any big want to go like into the pocket and get rid of him. Like, I'm not gonna like bite on my, put the weight over my foot and get rid of him. I think that he's even not 100% positive on his chin, because he fights that way. If he was 100% positive, he would have stepped in the fucking phone booth and ripped it out with him when Jojo was sucking wind there at the later rounds.
Yeah.
But so again, he's talented, but I'm just giving him a regular pass.
Yeah, and you know what, Jamie? All of a sudden, when did Jojo Diaz become like a Canelo Alvarez? That guy too, another guy. When all of a sudden is he a power puncher? I mean, he did what he was supposed to do. He fought the correct game plan. But in the end of the day, I think PDA said it before. Nothing that Jojo Diaz was going to bring to the table was really going to make a difference. But we know one of the telltale signs to me that is kind of glaring. When I said, that all of a sudden he shows a vulnerability, it's he's got that look of impending doom. When all of a sudden the walls are closing in on him, he's got that look of concern, and you can see it. If you just watch his fights, you just psychologically try to key into his reactions. He's got that look like the walls are closing in on him, and he's getting worried. The punch is coming. But like I said, Jojo Diaz is not like a Canelo Alvarez, where all of a sudden he's gonna throw a punch that's gonna knock him out. But if he's faced against a real a fighter that can truly punch, you're gonna see that look of concern, and something the inevitable is gonna happen. In my opinion, he's gonna get knocked out. But that hasn't happened, so I can't really say that.
The eyes don't lie, and he's herky jerky, meaning you'll see him. He's a little, nervous in the service, nervous in the pocket. You can see like he's skitsy, like he'll bite on feints. Like you can see his style that you see what I'm saying? He's very quick to want to jump out of there. and you'll see him. I watched him, and it'll just be slightly. You'll just see his weight shift back a little when the other guy makes even the slightest move. So I'm saying that, and when somebody's doing that, their mind isn't in looking like, okay, I'm going to get him with the shot. They're not the one setting the trap. They're reactionary, and that's why a lot of counter punches become counter punches because they don't want to press the action. Because when you press the action, you know what I mean, the other person's going to react to you. So yeah, that's my thing.
And that's a good and a bad thing, Jimmy, because herky jerky means that he's kind of a league on his own as far as like reflexes and his fighting instinct. It's really like sharp, but at the same time, if he doesn't display like nerves of steel, where he can control that and kind of roll when he needs to roll and punch when he needs to punch, that might be his downfall, right?
Yeah, like Shakur did against Jamal. Herring. I thought I saw that in him. Like he saw that. You saw the look in his eye. Just look at the steely look in Shakur Stevens' eyes. I mean, he was looking right through Jamal. I mean, even Haney, when he's in his fights, you can see it in his eyes. He's biting at feints. I think he was shook, not just like physically by that punch from Linares. That shakes a man's confidence because Linares, at his age, he just hasn't got the snap on his punches he used to when he really rocked that dude. And there's a difference. Anybody can get a flash knockdown, especially if you're off balance. It's how long it takes you to recover from it is really when, are you a chinny person comes into play, right?
Yeah.
You can flash knockdown, come right up, but if it's lingering, that's a problem.
You gotta work out those. You gotta work out those problems that you have mentally. If it's not that like your chin is suspect, let's say maybe it's not. It's just that he's nervous because he's got a lot on the line since he's barely on the comeback. Like when Oscar De La Hoya got knocked down by Narciso Valenzuela in this 12th fight, he got knocked down, he got up. There's a lot on the line that maybe you're not sitting down with your feet like well planted, that you're securing yourself, but you need to work out those problems and do the neck exercises and be confident in your ability, not just to box and display, that quickness with the hands, and those excellent reflexes, but in the confidence and the ability to stay in the pocket and take a punch or slip a punch. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
Right.
so pass, right?
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I mean, we're getting into very technical details here, which I can appreciate. But at the end of the day, we've said a lot about Devin Haney, and I think it's pretty clear it's a pass. He did what he was supposed to do. Is he dazzling the world? Is he scintillating the crowd? Is he completely outboxing these guys, like Chief said, like a Floyd Mayweather? No, but he's undefeated. No one's managed to beat him yet. And the future, if and it's a big if so far, because so far the fights haven't been made. But if he can get a fight with Loma, can get a fight with Ryan Garcia, Cambosos maybe. He would, if he were willing to go to Australia and take on Cambosos, win or lose. If he's able to do that, he gets a pass for next year. All things considered. So yeah, Devin Haney pass. And I gotta tell you, his fight with I enjoyed the fight with Diaz. So he's not boring like he was against Gamboa. So he's improving. But he needs to.
It's his opponents that make it, whether it's boring or not.
That too, yeah.
Gamboa couldn't make that fight. I mean, he was just coming off an Achilles heel tear from the tank fight. So, and he's 39 years old. It's Diaz and Linares that made those fights exciting, not him.
Well, we'll see what happens, man. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm excited to see what happens in this lightweight division.
Oh, me too. I'm very critical on him because the hype he's getting versus what he's producing and what he's showing he's capable of aren't matching, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. Forget about what his diehard fans say. Yeah, he's not what they claim to be, but he's a very good fighter and he could still make something happen.
I could just say one last thing on him, dude. His punches, he gets the moniker. A lot of people saw his, feather fist and whatnot. That's all manifests from him, his style of being herky-jerky and worrying about what's coming at him. He's not putting enough weight up over the front of his foot. That's all I want to say. If he did, he has the build to hit hard. Believe me.
Yes.
It's just he hasn't put his weight over. Right, Gonzalo?
Yes. And look, you don't even have to be heavy-handed to punch hard. Like Morales, that guy's not heavy-handed at all. But the way he delivers his punches, man, watch out. Because it's like a spear. Down the middle, fast, straight down the middle, from the shoulder. you're keeping your punch tight and you're throwing it down the center with speed. I mean, you could hurt anybody, and Devin Haney could certainly do that.
All right, let's go to
the next guy.
Let's go to hey. All right, then you guys take care of this one because I gotta go for 2 minutes here. Vasil Lomachenko.
Come on.
I'll be quick. So you guys try to, if you want to pontificate, I mean not pontificate. If you want to go into detail about this one, go ahead. I'll be back. All right, fellas. Vasil Lomachenko, pass, honor roll, or fail.
Well, I can't do honor roll because he didn't win a title or make a significant unification in the division. Based off that standard, the best he can get is high pass. But it's undisputed high pass. I mean, he's off of the Kambosos win. That very well may put him undisputed number one contender. He's already number one by the WBC. He's number one by the WBO. Believe the spots. I'm going to check fight news real quick. At lightweight were vacant. No, they weren't vacant yet. What would happen was Kambosos beat Teo, so he was the number one guy at lightweight, so that changed. And then Isaac Cruz just lost to Davis, so that should have freed up that spot. So 1 and 2 should have been vacant, and then Vasily fought Comey. When two top guys in the top 10 fight when vacancies happen in the IBF, the winner automatically becomes number one contender. So he should be number one for the IBF. He is the WBO. He is the WBC. And he beat Comey well enough to where the WBA may actually make him a number one contender also. So he may very well be sitting at the undisputed number one seat right now. So
I think he did really well. I'm almost tempted to say honor roll because probably going to give him a high pass, but I mean, he knocked out Nakatani, tough guy, strong guy, and he knocked him out in 7 rounds. Then Comey, it was a masterclass, except for I believe it was the 9th round where he let him off the hook. And when I'm saying that he shouldn't leave anything on the table, it's because if you watch Comey in that fight, he was hitting hard from the beginning to end. It was few and far between, but still, the punches that Comey was throwing, they were hard shots. Kind of reminded me of Castillo Corrales, not in the activity, not in the pace, but in the sense that those two fighters were throwing hard from beginning to end. And that's what kind of made that fight exciting. Yeah, he was getting outworked, outclassed, but Comey was still dangerous. And when he let him off the hook, you don't want to leave anything on the table because it happened to you already with Teofimo Lopez, where you had a shoulder injury. You didn't want to sign the rematch clause, so you got to get away from that little bit of the ego you have.
Yeah.
Just don't leave anything on the table and do what you need to do because you're getting older and you rely on technique and boxing skills. And you got to watch out because you got these young lions that are probably bigger than you and probably hit harder. So you got to just do what you have, which is excellent skills, and wipe the floor with these dudes. Leave nothing on the table. So I'm just going to have to give him a high pass.
Jimmy, what do you give him?
Well, obviously, it would be a high pass with honorable mention. I don't want to give him. The only reason why I'm not giving him a high pass is, wait a minute, did he win a belt off to? No, he didn't, right? So, okay, so I believe he's the one. I believe Kambosos. I mean, he says he'll fight Loma. He doesn't care. It's whoever's going to go to Australia. Without a doubt, he's already proved he'll fight anywhere. I mean, every fight he takes is on the road. You know what I mean? And I would like to see him before Ukraine gets swallowed up by Russia. There's the Olympic Stadium there. No, seriously, I think that'd be really nice, man. Have him a home fight. It would be just nice to have his own people there for once, although he's getting some decent numbers traveling for him. But, I mean, he fought, nobody else is doing. I mean, other than like Canelo, but he's constantly doesn't have soft touches. He doesn't have comeback fights. He always pushes himself. Yeah, he has 2 losses. One arguably really shouldn't have happened. I mean, with all things considered, the second one, he did it to himself by going into a fight with a bad shoulder. So he did earn that L, but it's because he's taken on guys that nobody else is going to. I mean, these guys will talk about it all day on Twitter. So if you take all those things combined, he could almost, like the franchise thing, get until he hits the wall, get an honorable fucking mention every year as an honorable, because he's just like Usyk on a different level right now. And I believe he's going to go to Australia, and I believe he will beat Kambosos. And then the fact that you mixed it in that he shouldn't even be in this weight, he could easily be making 130. You know what I'm saying? So he's got to do this because nobody at 130 would fight him. So when you're that good that nobody in the division will fight you, so I mean, think about it. But for all that, but because he didn't win a title, I'm only going to give him the high pass.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say high pass like you guys. I think you guys made some great arguments. He jumped. Look, he had this is why people, again, real quick, people always talk about the loss. Oh, they want to protect that O. And they like to make fun of Lomachenko for having 2 losses. But like we're talking about when we're judging these fighters, look at the context of how guys lose as well. Did he get trounced by Orlando Salido? No. In fact, he actually hurt Salido near the end of the fight, almost took him out. Against Teofimo Lopez, how did Teofimo Lopez win? He won the early rounds. Was he schooling Lomachenko? Lomachenko wasn't doing shit because of the shoulder. Now that's, people are gonna, and we're gonna get to Teofimo Lopez, but if Teofimo Lopez wasn't the same guy in the Kambosos fight as he was in the Loma fight, then you can also say Loma wasn't the same guy in that Lopez fight because of that injury. Oh. I mean, what I'm trying to say is if you're going to give a guy credit or discredit and give him a pass for injuries, then you do finally have to give Lomachenko a pass for the injured shoulder he had against Teofimo Lopez. And dare I say, if he would have fought Teofimo Lopez this year, if they're both healthy, I think Lomachenko beats Lopez, and there's no doubt about that. And by the way, just a real quick final point about Lomachenko is he's the type of guy that fights everybody, doesn't make stupid demands, he doesn't complain about the money, he doesn't talk trash, and yet people still hate him. That don't come at me then don't come at me with the I want the boxers to fight the best. No, because you don't. Because even when they do fight the best, you'll still find something to complain about. I'm talking about the degenerates out there.
Yeah. BD, he don't make no stupid demands and stuff like that. But that's where he needs to be careful too, because moving forward, if you need to sign a rematch clause, if you're injured, maybe don't take the fucking fight. If you need to knock the other dude out, knock him out when his head is served to you in a silver platter. Don't let your ego, and I'm not saying that it's a bad ego because he's just used to winning all the time. Do not pass on the finite details that for you, you're a well-oiled machine when it comes to he's a technical boxer. You gotta be firing at all cylinders. Do not let those little issues get in the way of you beating these younger, bigger guys, because that makes a lot of a difference too.
Exactly. Well, listen, the future looks bright here at 135. If these guys are willing to fight each other, I'm talking about Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, Kambosos, I think he's willing to fight everybody. And of course, Lomachenko, we already know he's willing to go anywhere to get the fight done. So, pass, it's the way he beat those fellas. Yeah. Go ahead, Jimmy.
I was gonna say. I was just going. I was talking out loud, agreeing with you. But high pass. But I know that Kambosos also, I believe, said that he would want to give Haney the shot. But Haney gets big money, $3.5 million. I think that's kind of an albatross. The money he's being paid. A lot of guys don't want to just even, because that's another thing. Lomachenko, I, like you said, you touched on it. You never hear about him ever in a bad negotiation saying, "Oh, I'm worth more money." He just wants to fight. So he will be much easier to deal with to get over to Australia. I just have a hard time believing that Haney's going to be willing to travel to Australia. He might prove me wrong, but...
Well, what did he say? He said after the fight, he said that he was willing to, right? He was willing to go to Jupiter or something like that, he said, so...
Yeah, I mean, exactly. He said that, but is Eddie Hearn really want to let him go? I mean, that's a big... Because you're going all the way to Australia where he's going to have... the Kambosos will have 110% fan support, like screaming every time he touches Haney. He's the huge public underdog. Lomachenko, he's been fighting constant big fights, championship fights. That one he'll block that shit out, especially from all the days at the Olympics. You could add that too. That's a lot of stress when you're fighting those fights. So that wouldn't be nothing to him. That's a big ask for a young fighter who still hasn't fought anybody. I mean, as tough as Kambosos yet. Because I'll tell you, if Linares rocks you, Kambosos hits a lot harder than Linares.
Right. That's true, man. That's true. I mean, we'll see what happens, man. But, I mean, like you said, Jimmy, I mean, I think if I were Haney, and I know it's easy for me to say, Jimmy, but I would take that fight, man. I think it's a winnable fight. It's Haney is a better boxer in terms of skills, I believe, than Teofimo Lopez. And like you said, that jab, I've said it before. I even did a video about it. I think Haney has the best jab at 135. So if they get into a jabbing match, I think you can figure out for yourself, if I'm right, of who would win that battle.
I agree. He probably does have the best stick, like the best. He just doesn't put enough on it. Again, that's because he's not putting enough weight over his front foot when he's throwing it.
All right, let's go to. So we gave Haney a pass. He did good work. Got to give it up to him as well. And like I said, you know what? I lowered the bar a little bit for Haney because I always just say, I want to see him be more aggressive. But the problem is, if he's more aggressive against punchers, then he could get hurt. So I don't want to see that from him. Just throw combinations, keep doing what you're doing, and you'll be fine in my book, which is the best book in the world. All right, so Lomachenko, we gave him a pass as well. Let's go to. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Oh, well, what do we have here? A fucking comedian. No, hold on a second. Where is it? Give me 2 seconds. I'm trying to find. All right, let's go to Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo. What do you guys? What do you say about old Teofimo?
Fail. Fought one time and he lost. And he could have fought more of the times than that, but he tried to. And it's the way he acted. It's the way he, I'm the next big star. You got to pay me what I'm worth. I'm paraphrasing some of the stuff he said. And just nothing he did was screams anything. He was on the cusp of possibly having a great career. He underestimates Kambosos. He doesn't prepare for. I understand he was injured. And I do want to take note to the fact that the injury that he had from what the doctor said, and I'm not a doctor, so I got to listen to what the doctor said. Air is only supposed to be in one part of your body. That's your lungs. If he had actually had air leaking into his chest and everything else, it's understandable why he didn't win this fight. But at the end of the day, you had one fight. You're 23. You had one fight, and you lost to a guy that everyone thought you were supposed to walk right through. Maybe we underestimated Kambosos, but everyone thought you were supposed to walk right through, and you didn't. After the fight of your life. So, it's got to be a fail.
Yeah, man, he fought the wrong game plan, and everything he did was wrong by saying, I'm going to go out there and try to knock him out in the first round. He gets dropped himself, and, man, it was a close fight. It was a very winnable fight. But he just he had the wrong game plan and his attitude. Like there was nobody that could top Wilder and the shenanigans, but this guy's equal, if not worse. His whole team is very bad. And so, that is an epic fail. Yeah.
No, I agree. It's the stuff he did out of the ring as much as what he did in the ring. Just the way from the demanding freaking millions of dollars for a freaking, Mando, regardless of what Kambosos did in that mandatory position, he was just a Mando. And he was off one win. And again, one win that Lomachenko didn't do anything in the first 7 rounds. For whatever reason, shoulder, I'm not going to, whatever. He still didn't do. Everybody sat there watching that fight saying the same thing. What the fuck? When is he going to do something? And when he finally decided to do something, all right, go the rest of the rounds. Anytime there was real engagement, if that was from the beginning on, Lomachenko would have won that fight. So, you know what I mean? Yes, he did beat Loma, but I mean, look what he did in that. So, all around a big fail. I just want to say something real quick. I want to back on something. I like Linares a lot. When he was younger, he had some of the smoothest combinations. And when I say Kambosos hits harder now, he hits now in the condition, in the age he is now compared to Linares, where he is in his career. Prime Linares, because of his accuracy, probably around the same punching power, but Kambosos throws him from tricky angles, puts a lot on him. So, and his age, that's why I say he hits harder now.
Before I go into add to what you guys said about your judgment here, I want to give a shout out to Michael Poe for his contribution with the super chat. He says heavyweight got Usyk for all the right reasons, also timing and how much shit corruption avoided to be a champion. One NBR, Bucho and BDA, happy Xmas I hope Xmas was great. Right back at you, Michael. Shout out to you, man. Thank you for your contribution. Really appreciate it. And hope you're having a good holiday as well. I want to give a shout out to Virtuoso as well. Says Ricardo Martinez quit spamming. Yeah, he already stopped, so don't worry about it. But he was spamming pretty bad right there. But shout out to Virtuoso for his contribution. Well, listen, guys.
Yeah.
Like you said, oh, go ahead, Gonzalo. I think you want to say something.
I was just gonna mention, and I put this guy right along with Wilder as like the worst that I've seen as far as like the excuses and the shenanigans, because Wilder had like 10 excuses from the egg weight to the what was it, the suit, the vest,
yeah,
everything. And Teofimo, how many times did he cancel the fight? The 300-pound weight on his chest. I'm gonna knock him out in the first round. The argument with Top Rank and Top Debuff, then saying I'm not gonna fight for he went with Thriller, then he now all of a sudden he says I'm gonna go back to Top Rank, and you could just keep naming them. The personal problem with his wife is none of my business, but at the same time it's a reflection of what he displayed on the ring, psychologically not being there. But anyways, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, you're right, man. It's look, I'm gonna slightly disagree, not by much, Gonzalo, but I think his excuses weren't quite as bad as Wilder, because Wilder went really far. The gloves, the suit, brilliant, spiked his water. Somebody spiked his water. It was just all over the place. This guy's, he did the smart thing. He hasn't said, I don't believe so. If he did, somebody please correct me. I don't think he used the excuse of the esophagus and all that. I think that his representatives did. But be that as it may, everything he said about Lomachenko, because Lomachenko, when Lomachenko's team came out with the whole shoulder thing, Lopez said, "Oh, that's pathetic." Well, stand on that same platform, on that same standard. You're coming up with excuses now. Which, by the way, like Jimmy said, 300 pounds of pressure, can't breathe. This motherfucker wouldn't have been able to come out of the ring the way he did in the first round. Adrenaline, don't get me started on that one. It wasn't that. So I do believe he might have been hurt, whatever, but it's at the end of the day, he did so much talking. He thought he was better than what he was. He thought he was worth more money than what he was. People kept talking about how he was the next big thing, and he couldn't even get one defense in. And it makes it worse based on all the talking he did, all the jawing. So, fail.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He probably took the biggest hit out of anybody this year. Well, him and Wilder, I would think. Honorary mentions for real bad fails.
No, there's no contest. He took the biggest hit. Wilder had come off of a loss. The year before, no fight in between, and got knocked out again. This guy actually came off the biggest win of his career into what he did. He took a much bigger drop in stock than Wilder.
Yeah, that's what when people knock fighters.
No, go BDA.
When people knock fighters for, this guy hasn't fought anybody, this guy's fought nothing but bums, people love to throw the word around bums. Well, look at Lopez, man. He couldn't even get one defense in, so put that into perspective, right?
He looks like a bleeder, too. A lot of fights he's had, he's got the knockouts, but when it goes rounds, certainly like it did against Cambosos is pretty hard, but, this guy seems like he cuts very easily. He's going to be a bleeder. So we just got to pay attention to that too. Because that was a punch that cut him. It wasn't a headbutt.
Yeah, it was a punch. Will cut him open. But my thing with Wilder, the reason why I'm so down on him, is it wasn't like just excuses, right? Excuses are excuses. This dude denigrated other human beings, man. He turned on Breland. He threw fucking everybody else's character under the bus. And even after he got knocked out the second time, when he had an opportunity to say, well, geez, there was no egg weights and he knocked me the fuck out again. He had an opportunity to be, step up and say, because, for things that happened the way he openly claimed they happened and he knew it was laugh about in interviews. I'm not even going to get into it. It is a fact. So he's saying there was all these people who were corrupt at Nevada, athletic, willing to let somebody. Now, mind you guys, I've gone over it 100 times. the damage that would have been done if there was an egg weight in a glove. It could never mind potentially kill him. So other dudes, not even just like, okay, yeah, get an extreme advantage, but we're going to allow you to try to fucking kill this dude. It's just so absurd. And then he stood with it and he hid behind when he was finally in front of the mics and people who were going to ask him the questions. He sat there like a pouting child, with his fucking headphones on. So he didn't have to, because he couldn't even stand the thought of those idiotic fucking excuses coming back at him.
Yeah,
that's true.
At the end of the day, his stock was already low from the loss. His stock was low after that, and they lost again. Comparing that to what happened to Lopez, to me, is not the same thing, because Lopez, coming out of the Loma fight, was on cloud nine. He was the star, potential next superstar, possibly in boxing. Now, he hadn't done much, but what he could have been writing off of had he capitalized instead of signing with Triller and everything else. Wilder was, everybody was just waiting for the shoe to drop. Comparing that
because we were though, dude. But he also eliminated his opportunity for the Hall of Fame with that loss. He lost a lot with that loss. Like if you would have came back and knocked out Fury, Hall of Fame's open. His career's still going, money, potential, all that stuff. So that loss, even though we expected it, that was a huge loss to him. He's contemplating retirement. In fact, I've been saying 10 months before the fight, if he loses, he'll retire, just because he's not going to. Nobody's going to put themselves through that kind of grueling training camps for a fucking 90% less, you know what I mean,
right,
or whatever it'll be. For that reason, yeah. But anyway, so for all that stuff, that's why I equal them out around the same big fail.
So anyway, so it's a fail
for Lopez. Yeah, it's a fail.
And him saying that he won the fight 10-2 is not accurate. I mean, it was a close fight, but he needs to be more accepting of what he's doing to be able to change. And he's got to change that corner too, because that's not helping him.
I agree with you in the corner. I'm not going to hold it against him, the fact that he said he won 10-2. Okay, even though you're right, Gonzalo. You're absolutely right. I'm not arguing with you. But fighters have to believe they're invincible in order to get in there. And if he believes he didn't lose that fight and it's going to keep him motivated to keep winning, then he's going to have to do what he has to do. And no fighter likes to admit that they lost.
Yeah, and there were like close rounds, as you were alluding to earlier. It could be wide, but if they're competitive close rounds, and you might have thought that you won those, then in your mind you probably swept the whole fight. And in the ninth round, he had the best round, because the way he knocked down Kambosos was much better than the way Kambosos knocked him down in the first round. He dominated that round, but it's something about that fight will always lead you to believe that Kambosos won clearly.
Well, it was a very close fight. Yeah, it was a very close fight. People tend to make it seem as if schooled him or whatever, but it was a very close fight. I mean, Kambosos' face wasn't exactly clean afterwards, but it was still a fail. All right, let's go to Gervonta Tank Davis.
Lopez.
Or Lopez.
Two title defenses. He won both of them. They were both one was by knockout. He went to decisions against an unknown guy. Still beat him when he was tested, even though some people may have thought he lost. But it was a tough fight. He showed that he can stand in there where the guy's taking the fight to him. So he answered some questions, even if it wasn't the way he wanted to answer them. I'm not giving him high praise for this. I'm just pointing out why the fact he doesn't deserve to fail. And not to mention, he basically jumped up to win a fight at 140, which some people thought was going to be too much for him. A hand-picked guy there, but a much bigger man. Walked him down, knocked him out. I don't know. No reason not to pass him. There's no reason to fail him on that one. Not that I'm impressed with his career, but there's no reason to fail him.
For me, I'm going to give him a fail. The reason I give him a fail, just real quick, because he's not fighting the big names and the guy that's the guy in the division with the real titles. He's fighting for baby belts, and the way he performed in his last fight, tying up and chucking the other guy to the ground, Isaac Cruz, every time the fight was supposed to be fought on the inside, he wanted to have no part of that. And to me, if you're a short fighter with those capabilities, certainly to fight on the inside, but you're avoiding that type of affair, is telling me that you're not giving it your all because you certainly have the talent. I don't know what it is, but to me, he should be doing a whole lot better than what he is. And just the way they're promoting this guy, it just seems kind of fugazi. So
I'm with you. I'm with you on a lot of that, but we passed Devin Haney. He didn't do anything worse than Devin Haney. Devin Haney went the distance with 2 featherweights, and Jojo Diaz is not a hard puncher. And and Jojo Diaz backed him up and took the fight to him and hurt him. If we're going to pass Devin Haney, we got to pass Tank Davis.
The only reason that I say that is because maybe you're right, and I have to change my mind because he's got all the intangibles. You certainly know. I mean, who doubts that Tank Davis has a bad chin? No, he's got a solid chin. He's short. He's stout. I mean, he's got a thick neck. He's got a helmet for a head, and the guy can certainly crack. He's got all but one before the Cruz fight knockouts, and he didn't go in there trying to show that type of fight, which ultimately is going to benefit him as a favorable fighter to the fight fans. But he's kind of getting away with what they want. They want to make this guy to superstar, and the guy's getting on the back foot, robbing away from his power, throwing one single shot at a time, not putting his shots in combination. That's what I'm saying. It's more of a personal thing where I'm disappointed. You know,
I'll go with you on that. I'll go with disappointment, and I'll go with disappointment with how people are handling him. We've said this on the air before. We don't like what they're doing with how they're cherry picking people and not going after the best guys. I'm with you, but what they're putting in them against, he fought twice this year, which is basically the standard. It was one of them was a title fight, one of them was a pseudo title fight. The Barrios fight, we all know, was a paper belt. I'm not going to sit there and try and validate that, but he's still undefeated. He's still fought twice. He's still got the 2 wins. He defeated Isaac Cruz as a title fight. And I'm just sorry, if we're going to pass Devin Haney off of fighting his 3rd featherweight in a row and being tested tooth and nail with a light punching featherweight again, then how are we going to fail Gervonta Davis?
Yeah,
who's a natural 130 pounder and faced a lightweight and a junior welterweight and beat both of them. Mind you, I'm no fan, but I gotta be fair.
Well, I could tell you why I'd give him a fail for all the reasons Gonzalo said, and because of the fact that they're deliberately, and it's not just who he's fighting, it's how they're delivering it. It's about the health of the sport, everything. I grade the whole thing, and the fact that they openly say, "Who's Josh Taylor?" When I fight, I mean, at least Haney was making offers. He was trying to get guys in the ring. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing coming out of his camp. They not only aren't they making offers, who's the fucking unified champion? And those belts are just made up WBA belts. You know, the trinkets. I mean, Barrios. Yeah. Who the fuck was Barrios? And then Cruz was a Vegas no-hoper, 12-1 underdog. He was handpicked to go through. I mean, look at him in his fight before he fought Davis. He's kind of a one-trick pony. He's tough. He's got that, but he's not athletic. He just throws punches all at the same speed. And Davis was baffled. He didn't know what to do. On top of that, he didn't like getting hit on the inside. I thought his stock fell huge with that. He went life and death with the Vegas no-hoper. His hand wasn't broke. It was stung. And again, I'm not just taking this year, which I know that we go year by year, but I said back 2 years ago, I'm not giving this kid a passing grade until he faces. I mean, he hasn't fought a top 10, a legitimate opponent, and it's going on 5 years. At least Jojo Diaz.
Top 10 by what standard? Because Cruz is
ranked. I said legitimate. It's legitimate, but before that fight, he wasn't. They bumped him up. Isaac Cruz
was ranked number 2 by the IBF going into that fight.
Yeah, but that was it I know there was a write-up in one of the articles that he got a magic like jump up 8 points right before the fight was announced too.
Okay,
I mean, I don't know, that might not have been in the IBF, somebody else. I mean, they'll do that all the time. But the thing is, Yeah, but he was still a Vegas 12-1 underdog. That's like no hope or odds. And he went life and death. And some people felt he win. I thought Davis did just enough. That goes again, shows you how limited the way he fought that fight. If Cruz just stopped crowding himself and all those other things he was doing, he could have probably beat him. And he didn't like the body shots, which tells you that drinking's catching up to him because he's tough as nails. Listen, nobody was as hard on that kid as me. When he first came out, I'm like, this kid's a little Mike Tyson. He really is. Fucking kid from the city streets, the same thing. Terrible childhood, full of rage. You can tell the way he acts in public. That's true. Gallon neck. He came to fight. You go look at the way he fought Pedraza. And after that, felt like, and that was it. Boof. After that, no hoper after no hoper. And then they stopped putting him on pay-per-view because they want us to finance it because no network will pay for it. That's how bad and the fact he was going to fight Rolly Romero. That was supposed to be his opponent. That dude shouldn't even be in a boxing ring. He should be in tough man competitions at Denny's.
I thought you were going to say he should be in the. I thought you were going to say he should be in jail. No, but listen, the point is.
Oh, yeah, but that's why I give him a fail, and I'm going to give him a fail until he. But again, I think he's already 27. I think the booze is caught up. He's still got a big 8 felony case. 27. Well, by the time he fights again, right, he won't only be 28. The booze. And he's got a lot of trouble outside the ring with the court case coming. That's going to start becoming pressure on him.
So, Gonzalo, what did you say?
Yeah, man, I can't be so ambiguous. I said fail, and I'm just gonna stick to my guns. But I see what Boxing Chief is saying. From the merits of a fighter that's undefeated, that got the win, although it was controversial, he should be a pass. But with all the shenanigans, and yeah, if Haney gets a pass, but I was just thinking right now, Haney's like 23, 24. This guy's gonna be 28. So I mean, does that mean if you keep being kind of like just coasting 4 years from now, Haney's going to get a pass when Gervonta Davis is just doing the bare minimum? Yeah, maybe 4 years ago, Gervonta Davis, when he fought Pedraza and the next fights after that, he got a pass, figuratively speaking, because he was doing what he was supposed to do at that age. Now, look at, the blueprint is out, what they're doing, By the time this guy retires, he's probably going to be 50-0 like Mayweather. But what is he really giving us?
That's
that
a
we
good
say
point.
That is fulfilling his potential.
That's a
So
good
I'm just
point.
gonna have to give him a pass.
Listen, I'm going to give him a pass too, man, because...
I'm gonna give him a fail. Sorry.
Hold on a second.
Well, we're tied then.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a pass because people in the chat, most of the people in the chat are saying the same thing here. And I agree. Look, he did what he had to. And I think... boy, hold on a second. Holy shit. Hold on. But most people said Haney. We gave Haney a pass. So we should hold on a second. We should give. I mean, Tank Davis did what he was supposed to, right? So we gotta give him. Are we surprised or not? But hey, it is what it is. By the way, is this? Don't tell me. Is this too?
Holy shit! Hold on. But most people said.
I can hear. Now, hold on a second. I can hear echo, man. Whoever's on the line, I can hear echo. So I can hear myself rather. Complete total delay. All right, but listen, like I said, let me just put it here. Pass. But it wasn't a great pass, but he did what he was supposed to. So let's move on, man, because we're taking too much time here. But everything you guys are saying, you guys are, now I can see why you guys are real boxing fans, because you have your standards set. You know what I mean? It's developed through years of watching it too, to know exactly what it is that you want to see from a fighter. Shout out to Kenshiro, by the way, for his contribution to the Super Chat. Says, Happy New Year's Eve from the UK to the BDA crew. All right, shout out to you, Kenshiro. Shout out to Kenshiro.
Thank you, Kenshiro. BDA.
Yes.
I'm gonna step off for a while. I'll try to make it back. If not, Happy New Year. Love you guys very much.
Happy New Year, brother. Peace,
thank you
brother.
for having me on the
Happy
show
New Year.
as always. And I've been on for over a year now. So BDA, thank you very much for letting me be on this panel. I love you, brother, and I can't thank you enough for letting me be part of this. God bless you guys. Have a good one.
Happy
You
New
too,
Year
man.
to you and your family, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You too.
shout out to you, man. Shout out to you, Chief. Always appreciate you being on. Really love talking to you because you're one of those guys we can talk boxing all day, all night. So shout out to you, man. Really appreciate you coming on.
He's also the I'd say the panel historian. That dude remembers fights like this from yesterday.
Exactly. So by the way, just real
Thank you,
quick,
guys.
Chief, I wish you
Happy
and
New
your
Year,
family
Chief.
all the best, man. Happy Merry Christmas.
Thank you very
Happy
much.
New
Same
Year.
to you and all your families. Everybody be safe, and I'll see you in the next show next year.
Peace,
All right.
brother.
Peace, Chief.
Yeah, by the way, I want to do, since we got, and I know Jim is going to love this card, but we got the Saturday card between Martin and Ortiz, so we can talk about that on Sunday, but on
I already
Wednesday.
bought it.
Oh, come on. You're fucking with me, man. No, but I want to do a, Chief, if you're still listening, I want to do another one of those part 2 of boxing's most shocking upsets, so.
I'm just curious. Is he going to wear Daisy Dukes? Is Martin going to come in?
Come on! All right,
remember them shorts? Those shorts he came in against Joshua. They were so tight when he got knocked down. He had a hard time getting up.
Those little
Nike, they fucking gave. Yeah, dude, they were so like somebody dried him or something. There's no way. You know what I mean? Like there's no way he went in saying, "Oh yeah, these will work."
Right.
I mean, it was bad.
Yeah, somebody should. He should go to the Korean dry cleaners instead of the ones he goes to. All right, who is this?
Silk does shrink if it's old. Like it's crazy. Like I got trunks from the 50s, bro, that they shrink. It's crazy. Like real silk shorts.
Real quick, who is this who just jumped in? Is this the real one or
what, Stu?
What's happening, you degenerates?
No, wait a minute.
Is this Stu?
I think so, because otherwise he wouldn't have been able to contact us through Discord. Stu, what's up, man?
Stu died. Is that Stu?
What's happening, boys?
Is that really you, man?
Stu, brother, how are you, man? Sorry, Diego.
Yeah, say something different, because he just keeps saying, what's up? I think it's a recording. Is this a real Stu?
It's fucking me. What do you want me to do? Get my dick out or something? It's me.
Well, you know what? I gotta take umbrage with you, because I'm happy you're back, but at the same time I'm mad because we kept trying to contact you and we got fucking radio silence.
Oh well, I had a little trip away, didn't I?
Well, I mean, whatever it is, I'm glad you're okay, man, because we were fucking worried that you weren't responding, that there might have been some foul play involved.
No, I had to go to the pen for a bit, no.
Holy smokes, really?
Stu, not to think that you're that type of dude, but BDA is not what I said. When BDA told me that you didn't respond to emails and Skype, all these things that you would have normally, I said, well, let's be honest, Stu's the kind of a wild dude, man. He does party and he does roll with some dudes that shit might have caught up to him. That's what I said too. I said, but God, we were just worried that something might have happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I did go off the rails a little bit with the party and that. I fucking got into a bit of beef, so I ran some fucker over, didn't I?
Oh, you pulled that Nassim Hamed?
Yeah, I did a fucking Nassim Hamed, didn't I? I did it on purpose, that's what.
Oh, God. Jeez, Louise. Well, it's good to hear from you, man. I can't tell you, man, because we were, like I said, it's a relief to hear from you, number one, too, because like I said, we were fucking worried. I was like, this guy's not fucking answering anything, you know? So,
it was bad.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I thought to myself, you know, I'll give it a few weeks, get myself back in order, and then I'll get in contact with you guys. I mean, like I said, my phone, I've got a different phone now. I wasn't sure how to get back on the Discord. I've just had to get back on that. So, yeah, man, I'm back.
Well, it's great.
You sound good too. Your microphone you sound good too. Like you sound like loud and like if you got a new setup or whatever. Yeah, it's good.
It's probably the computer I'm using.
Hey, guess who else has a new microphone? Fucking Jimmy. He sent me the
yes, I do. Yeah. Headphones and the microphone piece and everything, so I don't sound like I'm talking to a rubber chicken anymore.
Yeah, man. You sound quite good, Jimmy.
Thank you, brother. I'm glad. I'm just glad to see you all right. It's good to hear your voice, brother. That's all I got to say.
And you guys, man. I missed all you guys. I wouldn't just disappear and not say anything, do you know what I mean? But obviously, situation occurred and I couldn't get hold of you guys. And I've been out about 4 or 5 weeks I've been out now, but yeah, man, I did plan on coming back on the show, but I thought I'd get Christmas out of the way and then contact you guys.
Well, you can't imagine how many people kept saying all throughout, man, where's Stu? We're like, hey, your guess is as good as ours, man. By the way, shout out to Kenshiro for his contribution. He's in the chat. He says, forget free Mandela, free Stu. Happy New Year, bro. Shout out to Kenshiro.
There's dudes that you've even brawled with on like the fucking, you know what I mean, in the chat, or like drop a donation saying, seriously, man, I hope everything's all right with Stu. So, you know what I mean? It was dudes like you've gone at it with, and they weren't even fucking worried about your brother. So it's just really good you're fucking back, dude. But I can understand coming out and then you just need the time. I don't give a fuck if it's 90 days or 9 months, man. It fucks you up. When you first come out, it takes a while to adjust.
Like I said, the first thing, when you get out, the first thing you want to do is get some pussy, not come on the BDA and talk to a load of degenerates,
Well,
like I said, this is the thing. All these guys that used to moan about me when I was on, when I'm gone, though, they want me back. So this is the fickleness of boxing fans. But yeah, it's good to speak to you guys, man. I did miss you, man.
Well, listen, we'll try to stay on the line after the show, keep you up to date about a lot of things happened since you were gone. There's been a couple of wars in the YouTube boxing community. A couple of bodies have been dropped rather in the streets of YouTube. So we'll talk all about that. Shout out to Viking Vurial in the chat. He says, shout out to Stu. Welcome back. Let the slander begin. Well, you know what? Not for nothing, but I think Stu sounds a little bit more mellow now. I don't think he's going to be getting into it with people as much.
Don't get Stu started.
Deontay took a good fucking hiding, didn't he? It was like watching Whoopi Goldberg in The Color Purple, wasn't it?
Oh, come on.
Stu's back.
Stu did miss a beat, man. Yeah, he did miss a beat.
I thought it was fucking. I thought it was Whoopi Goldberg getting pounded by Danny Glover when I was watching it.
Jeez, all right, but listen, I'm sharing my screen. Can you see everything I'm sharing here, Stu? On the Discord?
Nah, I don't know how to do all that yet. Just I've only just worked out how to put the fucking voice thing on again. So,
all right,
give me a while to work that one out.
All right. Well, listen, we're judging fighters' careers for the year. You know how it works, right?
Who fucks that?
Who?
Who's the picture of that guy?
It's Cambosos.
He looks like he should be in a fucking Mexican porn video, not fucking box.
All right. All right, but listen, that's George Cambosos, who upset Teofimo Lopez, whom we just talked about. We gave Lopez a fail. All right, now here's the big question. Does this guy get a honor roll or a pass?
Cambosa?
Yeah.
He gets a high pass because he's got all the belts and the ball's in his court. We'll see what he does with that.
Absolutely high pass too, just because being that much of an underdog and it's the upset of the year. Just, like being in foreign territory, coming into America and fighting his fight and taking big shots, making an exciting fight. So yeah, definitely a high pass.
Yeah, and he's got the belts and he's got what everybody else wants, right? He's got the cards in his hands.
By the way, recognize. I'm glad you dropped in as well, man. I didn't get to hear what you said though, with Cambosos.
Yeah, I said pass. Like he just gets a pass. He pulled off the upset. Remember, he almost got knocked out in that fight. I mean, he did really beat the living. Like he clearly beat Teofimo, but there was some adversity. This honor roll was a real high honor. I give him a high pass because he's in my opinion, he's undisputed. He's the lineal, right? He's the lineal champion.
Yeah. I mean, Teofimo Lopez, he's become the vanilla ice of boxing, isn't it? The one-hit wonder. I mean, lived off that fucking win for forever. Fought a good game, and then fucking just crumbles. I mean, it's just I felt a bit sorry for Teofimo really, because his dad has brought a lot of heat on him, and his dad's behaviour. I mean, it's just it was embarrassing to watch. Let's just say that. And Teofimo, he took his Loma win and ran off into the hills with it. He never wanted a rematch, did he? And I blame Lomachenko for that. I thought there was an arrogance in his performance that night, where and to be fair, I've been seeing that quite a bit in Lomachenko lately. Instead of going in there with this killer instinct, which I like from him, he seems to be. That waving the ref to stop the fight. Don't waving the ref. Spark the guy on the fucking canvas. Then the ref will wave it off. It seems to lost that killer instinct for me, Lomachenko. He just.
That's what I said too. I was saying the same thing. I was like, why is he playing with him? Knock him the fuck out. Yeah. Don't stop showing off.
Reminds me when Chris Eubanks Sr. was when he hurt Watson. After that, he was lost his killer instinct. He lost that bite. The way he didn't want to hurt anyone no more. He was waving refs to stop fights, and he was never finishing guys when they were there for the taking. It was just going through the motions, and I find that a lot with Lomachenko at the moment. I think the fight, I mean, with Teofimo, I think he brought that on himself. I mean, you can't just do nothing for 5-6 rounds and expect to win a fucking fight. I mean, I'm surprised, when I saw that fight, I thought, fucking hell, I didn't know Joe Gallagher was in Lomachenko's corner and lose the first 6, come on strong, and come on, man.
You're still up about Joe Gallagher. I think the guy hasn't done squat, I think, in the past 2 years, so, I mean, he's a bit of a, I don't know. And Gonzalo, like you said, with Lomachenko, he sort of hurt his knockout ratio too because I mean he obviously had the power to stop Comey, but once Comey shelled up, he wasn't gonna get him out of there, man. Big, strong Ghanaian like that. So like we said, then high pass for Kambosos. He did a very good. It was an excellent year for him. I give him a lot of credit for the fact that he had to come to the United States after all the postponements. Every time he went back to Australia, he had to quarantine. So it wasn't like he wasn't affected by all the postponements either. I mean, both guys, Lopez and him, and Kambosos just showed you that he was a better guy that night, and it was a fantastic year, and he gets as high a pass as you can get. So, shout out to Kambosos.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure about that pose. I mean, he gets a pass, but I mean, come on, man.
Well, he's Greek. What do you want, man? I mean, the Greeks, they did invent...
Oh, well, that explains it all, then.
They did invent homosexuality, I think. I don't know if that's an urban legend or whatever. I know there's an island that used to be called Lesbos. That's where they had all the lesbos. I wish I could have been there, let me tell you, man. All right, let's go to...
God.
Let's go to... Oh, fuck. Hey, we forgot this guy from a couple of divisions back.
What's her name? Ghislaine Maxwell?
Oh, yeah, she got found guilty, man. That's a good... for
some 65 years.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen. By the way, we forgot this guy, guys, fellas. Nonito Donaire.
High pass.
Honor roll?
Nah, I don't think so, man. Well, I mean,
high.
Yeah, we got to move through it quick, though. But all right, I'm gonna say pass, man. Considering his age, the way the reason is also he's stomping guys. It's a high pass, but he didn't beat Inoue or anything. He didn't beat. If he would have done this to Casimero and Ubali, I think it would have been a honor roll. What do you guys think about
one thing Donaire did do? It was actually he showed us all that actually Inoue is human, and he's a man at the end of the day, and any man can be beat. And I think Donaire was the one that showed us that. Everyone else just fell over, and they got hit and fell over. Mm. Well, Donaire, I mean, it was a good fight. I mean, Donaire hurt Inoue at times, and he really took it to him. And his age as well past his best. So yeah, it's got to be a pass for me.
Recognize Gonzalo?
Well, I said honor roll, so that's the first thing that came out of my mouth. So that's what my brain thought. So I'm just gonna stick to that.
Jimmy, I know he's only just to get an honor roll for the ticket sold, right? for his last fight.
Jeez, that's terrible. I give him a high pass because I'm just shocked at his age. You never see somebody go down in weight. You never see like all these firsts that he's doing. It's shocking the boxing world. 39-year-old, 120, 118-pound fighters coming down in weight. And especially a few years ago, man, as far back as 2015, right? Pretty much people call him washed. He was mentally burnt out. To see such a come on and to beat people the way he is, those body shots, that nasty body shot, and an undefeated world champion. Was that kid world champion, or was he?
Bali was.
I know he's high ranked. Okay, but yeah, just the body shot, that knockout. So yeah, I give him a high pass for that with all the intangibles.
I remember watching him fight. Was it Jorge Arce? I think it was.
Yeah.
Arce, was it? We knocked him out Sparko. I mean, it was a tremendous shot. I mean, as Arce woke up, I mean, it was a devastating shot. But I was very disappointed when he fought Rigondeaux. I mean, it was a poor performance, wasn't it? He made Rigondeaux look a lot better than what he really is. And I think this is where all the hype came from Rigondeaux, because Donaire at the time was like a pound-for-pound fighter. And, he went in there against Rigondeaux, and I just thought he was terrible. I really did.
Well, he did say too. To his point, he said that was by the time he started, the Rigondeaux, he was just burnt out. And he was going through the motions, and you can tell, right? He fought like it, and to see him come back, and get the hunger for it.
Right. Yeah. Just give us 1 minute. I need to go and get my evening milk.
Evening milk,
man.
All right. Well, listen,
the days of the cocaine and the beer are over at the moment. It's milk and a joint. You know what I mean?
Ugh, milk and a joint. Ugh, it's like fucking orange juice and milk.
You'll probably be less apt to run somebody over in a fit of rage.
No.
Well, isn't that what he said he did?
The thing is, I mean, this one thing about me, I do not like someone preventing me from going somewhere. And when he's standing, obviously he's giving it the mouth. He's standing in front of my car. He ain't gonna move. I've told him, and I'll get anxious. And when I get anxious, I'm like a pit bull in a corner. So he wouldn't move. So I ran the fucking guy over, and he soon moved down.
All right, say no more, man. All right, let's go. Okay, so the fucking Donaire, he gets a pass. Very good pass, great year, and hopefully he still has another year in 2022 to put the cherry on top of his career. All right, so we had to go back to Donaire in terms of weight classes. I was gonna go with Regis Prograis, but who knows? We don't even know what weight class he's at. He only fought once on Trailer, I believe, so we're gonna skip him. Okay, so let's go to, if we're at 140, Josh Taylor. Josh. I say Josh with an A. Josh Taylor. What do you guys think about Josh Taylor's year, 2021, and his fight against Ramirez?
I was honor roll. Go ahead, Jim.
Honor roll. Yep. No, sorry, brother. Honor roll. That's all I got to say. He unified the division. He's the man. He did the hottest thing in boxing. That, by definition, should give the kid the honor roll. That's all I got. Gonzalo?
Yeah, he gets honor roll because he gave us one of the best fights of 2021. And at the same time, he's one of the few that has unified in history. And he beat another fighter that was highly touted in Ramirez, that I actually thought it was a 50-50 fight. And the guy's really building exemplary, how do you say that word?
Exemplary, yeah.
A resume. His resume is really good. So the guy, he's all what is he's displaying that he's all that he's cracked up to be. What the people say, well, he's not just the hype. He's delivering in the performances, and he's pretty sneaky. The way he dropped Ramirez on the break, protect yourself at all times. That shows a lot of mental keenness. He's really wicked. He's intelligent. It's fair game, and that just shows you that he's a good fighter, and it's going to be very hard to beat for any other guy at 140, even if he moves up to 47, because he's got the length and he's a southpaw. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I like what I see, man. He's a good fighter, so I'm gonna give him an honor roll.
I agree so far, man. I don't know if Stu's back yet. If he isn't, I suppose. Even if he isn't, I'm gonna go ahead and say honor roll. Go ahead, Jimmy. What?
Right. No, yeah. To Gonzalo's point, his resume, he got 19 fights. This kid's like a throwback. It's just weird to see a kid in today, you know what I mean, go after, he won the World Boxing Association. He just doesn't take soft touches in a unified division in a 4-belt era, which is only, a handful of guys have done this. The reason why it's the hardest thing to do in boxing.
You know what? You know me, right? The belts.
But Tecton isn't.
Yeah,
that's
me. The
selective
belts.
Breeding.
You know me. The belts don't really mean much because Terrence Crawford unified 142, but he wasn't exactly the toughest of opposition. But this guy, whether they had belts or not, he went to war with Baranchik. He beat Prograis. He beat, before all of that, he also beat what's his name, Postal, and before that, he underrated win. He stopped El Tite de Vasquez. Now he goes in there against Ramirez and beats him, drops him twice. I didn't like the holding near the end, but that's a minus, that's a minor thing there. The fact that he does it in entertaining fashion, but at the same time with skill, this is quality over quantity, and I have to agree with all of you guys. I think it's an honor roll, and I don't know if Stu's back, but I suspect if he would give him the same thing. Honor roll. Ka-ching. Look at that. That's how it's done. This is how a career is supposed to go. Fight the best. Don't do it in an entertaining fashion. Yeah.
I mean, he's 19. He's got 19 fights. I mean, let's be honest. If he retired, wouldn't he be Hall of Fame worthy already?
I think he already is. Yeah, sure.
Wouldn't you say that? He's already first ballot just on what he's accomplished.
Especially, Jimmy, the International Boxing Hall of Fame, they've really lowered their standards for a while now. So, I mean, if Ignomar Johansson can be in there, then Josh Taylor really should be as well. So, yeah, man, let's go take Taylor away. He gets the honor roll. I think so far we've only given 2 honor rolls. Stephen Fulton and Taylor. So it just goes to show you that we do have high standards, even though we gave a lot of passes. All right, hold on a second. The fuck am I here? All right, so we get rid of here Taylor. I think now it's about time we get into the welterweight division. And let's go to Terence Crawford, who had that stoppage win over Sean Porter. Fellas, what do you think about Terence Crawford and the year 2021?
Yeah, I mean, Terence is obviously top 5 pound for pound for me. Something about that fight with Sean Porter just left a bad taste in my mouth. I mean, you talk about Sean Porter, the guy that never really quits, gives it his all. Always, you get 100% out of Sean Porter, fights to the end. That one, it was like throw a die for your friend sort of thing. I mean, come on, man. I mean, the guy wasn't hurt. He was sitting there banging the canvas because he's frustrated. That's not a worthy stuff. You do not pull a guy out because he's frustrated. I don't know, man. It just left a bad taste in my mouth. And I thought Sean Porter was actually doing quite well against Crawford. He was, you know, when they were trading in the pocket, you know, Porter was holding his own. Then, yeah, I didn't like stoppage. I thought it was, I don't know, man. Just left a bad taste in my mouth. If that was Lomachenko had won like that, or a European fight, man, oh god, we wouldn't have heard the last of it.
You know what, man? I don't disagree, and I'll give you my reasons later. But I want to hear from Gonzalo or Jimmy. What do you guys think? Crawford, pass?
Yeah, I'm gonna give him a high pass. I was almost tempted to give him honor roll, but just Stu reminded me of something. That stoppage was a little suspect. I'm not saying that the guy took a dive, but yeah, he could have probably fought on since he was renowned for being a blood and guts type of fighter. And Sean Porter, but that's not to Terence Crawford's fault. He's getting all the stoppages in welter. And the guy's showing that he is elite, whether it's PBC fighters or he's limited to the fighters that he had over at his promotional entity, which I think he broke away. At the same time, he's kind of loyal. He was to Bob Arum, but now I think he separated himself from him, so he's decided to take the steps that he needs to do in his career to move on forward and hopefully get that unification bout with
sorry.
To get that unification bout with Errol Spence. And like the Bible says, out of the darkness must come out the light, and the light gets brighter and brighter until it's firmly established, and we can now see who was really like lying and stalling the fight. And I think that was Errol Spence, and not running across to the other side of the street. Terence Crawford, he's kind of like meek. He's not very outspoken, but in the end of the day, I don't think he's ducking that smoke. He wants to fight, but Errol Spence was the one all along, not being truthful or kind of ducking Terence Crawford. But that's another chapter for maybe next year. Hopefully we get that, so he gets a high pass because he's got all the knockouts.
Right. I'll give him a high pass too. I credit him for the Porter win because, all right, Porter, even though he lost to Spence, some people thought he won, but he definitely went life and death with Spence. And I know he won on at least one card. Wasn't a majority draw, but he went in there and it was an early stoppage. His father rescued him. His father saw something that was obviously very obvious to him. And even I've listened to Sean on the podcast since, like he said, he knew he was getting hit with stuff he wasn't expecting. And, I mean, he doesn't even deny it. I think he knew if his father didn't rescue him, he was going out. I think his legs were already a little goofy. But it was a quick stoppage. I think that's if he would have stopped him, like knocked him out, got a 10 count, I probably would have put him in the I would have given him a honorable, but because Porter, which isn't his fault, but his father like kind of took that from him by stopping the fight. I agree with Stu prematurely, but I've said all along it's been Spence. I mean, come on, now they just got that kid to take a walkaway price so he wouldn't have to fight Crawford. And Crawford did. He's not under contract with Bob, but that doesn't necessarily mean he won't fight with him again in the future. He might be just doing one-offs. I know he has a big influence over the Davis boys who fight out of his gym with the Blue Chippers, and they signed with Bob. So you would think if he really doesn't like Bob, if it was a personal thing, and this is just my opinion, I would think that those two wouldn't have signed with Top Rank. So obviously he respects what Bob did for him, because he's still the guys that I don't know if he completely is like management over their careers, but he has a big influence over them, and he sent them to Top Rank, which was a big grab, I think, for Top Rank.
What I don't like is actually people are giving Porter a pass. Some people are saying, "Oh well, he was going to get stopped anyway." Well, that's on him. He's getting paid millions of dollars. I want to see him sleeping on the fucking canvas. I don't want to see fucking Kenny the Pimp Porter in the corner waving it off because his game plan didn't work. It doesn't work like that. You go in, say what you like about Wilder. You know me, I've done videos about this guy. Can't stand the man, but he showed incredible heart in there. And I'll tell you what, mate, I mean, you can say what you like about him, his ability, his attitude, but he went in there, like all fighters should, and he fought till he had nothing left, until he was sleeping on the fucking canvas. And that's what that's what I expect from fighters. I'm not one of these that, they're human beings at the end of the day. No one wants to see him no one wants to see him fight get badly hurt in the ring. No, but they're there to get knocked the fuck out. That's what they're getting paid for, or doing the knockout. It's one of the two. This is what we pay. Well, you guys pay $100 to watch. I mean, what do you want to do? Sit there, pay $100 to watch Kenny Porter pull his son out the minute he's fucking on the canvas? Get out of here, man. I mean, and what makes me laugh about Kenny Porter is he's walking around with better clothes than Sean is. He looks better. I bet he's got a better house as well. He's not even fighting.
You think he's dipping into Porter's pockets?
Well, very similar houses. They live literally across the street from each other.
I was a trainer. The same house as a guy that's earned millions of dollars by fighting. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, I don't get Sean Porter. I mean, I think Sean Porter's a great guy. I really do. But fucking, I mean, he really needs to have a good word with his dad and say, "Listen here, fella, this is what you're getting paid. If you don't like it, fuck off and go and train someone else." Because let's be real, he ain't going to train anyone else.
That's true.
No one's knocking on Kenny Porter's door, are they? To revamp their career. No. I mean, at the end of the day, he's another one. He's another Teofimo. Well, he's like Teofimo's dad. Once Teofimo's out the game, that guy's out the game. Because let's be real, this is not a guy that is going to go and train young guys to become world-class fighters.
That's true. That's true. I mean, it's. Well, listen, at the end of the day, he stopped Porter, and Porter was stumbling. He was hurt, but he could have continued. I think we all know that. Now, whether he would have gotten stopped brutally, we'll never know. Do we really give Crawford, one side of the issue here is give Crawford credit for stopping a guy that hadn't been stopped before. But that being said, it's not like it was a 50-50 fight. I mean, think about it. When we did when we're taking down predictions here, the week of the fight, we took down about 30-something or 20-something predictions, and only one person picked Sean Porter, and that was recognized, and he was a gimmick pick. Even he himself said, "I'm just doing it to see if it comes to fruition." But Porter wasn't going to outbox him. He wasn't going to knock him out. The only thing he had going for him was to outwork him, and that didn't happen. So it's a very good win, don't get me wrong, and it is an extra star on Crawford's shield, if you will, that he stopped this.
The thing about Crawford, whoever he fights, they just seem to all over and don't want it. I mean, I don't know what it is. I don't know what's going on with, but Khan, another one, fucking couldn't wait to get out of there. Kell Brook, I mean, I don't even know why he turned up. He should have stayed in fucking Sheffield. I mean, he was embarrassed. He was embarrassing that night. I mean, and you got Sean Porter, who just gives everyone a tough fight. And he was in that fight. Let's not pretend that Crawford was breaking him down and beating him up. All right, he was winning the fight and he was catching Porter. But Porter was catching him with good shots as well. It was a fight that, you know, when you're in a fight like that, you go to the end because you never know with boxing. You could catch him, like, you could catch Crawford. Because Crawford can be quite vulnerable at times himself. You could see him getting hit, and he was getting frustrated with himself because he was getting caught with shots. You know, and this is boxing. You know, you're in it to the bell rings. I just don't. I mean, he falls over, starts whacking the fucking canvas like some child, and then fucking the pimp, Kenny, pulls him out there and then steals all the limelight. I mean,
yeah, it's a weird relationship they've got. Kenny definitely seems like a bit of a egomaniac. All of that to say, pass for Crawford, high pass. If anybody disagrees in the honor roll, guess what? He only fought once, so we can't really give him that. But hey, good year, and hopefully he now that he's free of Top Rank, whom he blamed for not being able to make the big fights, we'll see if he does indeed take on the best. All right, so we've got Crawford out of the way. I mean, I think this one should be self-evident, but Errol Spence.
He gets a fail.
Yeah. I mean, it's not his fault, some will say. He got injured, blah, blah, blah. Guess what, man? One fight in 2020, no fights this year. It's got to be a fail. I mean, there's nothing to...
Epic foul.
Yeah.
Yeah, fail for sure. I mean, and why did he get an injured eye? How did he hurt that? You know, that more than likely happened at the accident. I mean, that eye had all that pool of blood in it, you know, in the picture. His arrest picture. So his eye that's probably where it tore, had a slight tear. So, and that was self-induced because he was out driving a Ferrari drunk. You know what I mean? So his lifestyle outside the ring cost him, and who knows if he comes back from it. And again, I started seeing, you could see it. He wasn't, we all agree he didn't develop to who we thought he first was. When he went to England and beat Brooke, we all thought there was something there. And I just don't think it came to fruition.
No, and it's not.
Go ahead, Gonzalo.
Yeah, and the future is not looking too promising for him, because the whole thing about man down, when he couldn't knock out a small fighter in Mikey Garcia, that power is not carrying, and he's outgrowing the division because he's in his early 30s. So, I mean, he's not really there to give us great fights because he's dehydrating himself at 47. So what does the future look for him? How does it look for him? Not too bright.
Yeah, great point, man.
I mean, look, this is the problem with a lot of Al Heyman fighters. I mean, they're just getting paid too much money to go through the motions. They don't. There's nothing on the line for them. Look at Danny Garcia. I mean, the man is a specialist in failure. Yeah, he's guaranteed a world title shot next year off somebody. Someone's going to fight him. They always do. And the guy's going to do absolutely nothing, go through the motions, get schooled, and collect his check like he always does. And the only one that ever put anything on the line was Sean Porter, and he just got passed around like some fucking $2 hoe. So, I mean, it's just... He did, didn't he? I mean, Porter was the only one that fucking Heyman sticking to the lion's den. He's the only one really, isn't he? That, you know, the rest are getting... I mean, look at Tank Davis. I mean, I tipped this kid to be a real special talent. I mean, he's still fighting bums like 6-7 years later. I mean, come on, man.
Agreed.
Yeah, man. And the thing about... Oh, go ahead, Jimmy. Sorry.
I was going to say, a rumor that I heard, I don't know if you guys heard it, of how much legs it has. I heard the rumor that Danny Garcia versus Boots Ennis in Philadelphia.
Whoa.
At 147.
Holy smokes. Hey,
I think Boots Ennis would be maybe the first one to stop him.
See, now that would be impressive. That's not like Crawford stopping Porter. And this is different, man, because this fucking Garcia, I don't think he's ever hit the canvas.
He's got a granite chin.
Yeah.
Danny's a bit like a poor man's Vladimir Klitschko, where he will not let the shot go unless it's the perfect opening, and it's all by the book with Danny. He just doesn't use his initiative when he's in there. He doesn't, if it's not working from distance, get inside and try and rough the guy up and try and win the fight. That's one thing about Lomachenko. When it's not working from range, he steps in the pocket and lets his hands go, and he gets them out of there sometimes. But Danny, it's the same old Same old stuff. And look, Kevin from Chicago. Don't tell me that clown's still alive, please.
Oh yeah, he's still
someone
alive.
shot him.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, he's still alive. Man.
What's happening with it? What's happening? You Americans are slacking. Someone should have put a bullet in his head years ago. Why is he still here?
Come on. Let's. We're talking metaphorically speaking. Hey, by the way, shout out to Kenshiro for his contribution to Super J. He says Spence gets a D for drunk driving. Well, listen, the drunk driving thing was in 2019, but that's the other thing that I don't like about Spence, and Gonzalo alluded to this. The fact that this guy was still showing up drunk in 2021 in fights and had to be escorted out by his security guards because he was giving interviews, slurring his words and looking tanked. I mean, he probably does love fighting, but the fact that he's fighting at a weight class where he shouldn't be at, and I don't think that the training strength, I don't think his determination is there anymore. So he should either move up to 154, or if he stays at 147, things are going to look bad with his lackadaisical work ethic. So right now, it's a fail.
Do you know, the thing is, though, BDA, the same people that give Canelo stick for like going up to light heavy and cruiserweight say nothing about Errol staying at welterweight since time began. I mean, I think he was born from his mother at a welterweight, weren't he? I mean, he's still at that weight. Come on, man. I mean, look, this... Spence, there's some big fights at 154 for Spence. Charlo was one. You know, there was some good fights there for him. If there wasn't anything at 147 they could get, and now he's still hanging around at 147. You know he's struggling at the weight. He's got to be. This is the thing about boxing. Do you think I miss boxing? I didn't miss boxing for shit. I just don't miss this sport. No, I just don't miss this sport tonight. This is not a sport that I get hyped for anymore. Because it's predictable. It's a bit like watching WrestleMania back in the day. You know Hulk Hogan's going to win, don't you? You know he could get battered for like 10, 15 minutes, but you know he's going to come back. You know he's going to get the win. And this is what boxing's become. You just know the winner is. You know how it's going to. And let's be real, a lot of these fighters are getting paid so much money. Why go in there and put it on the line to get hurt? Nah, take a dive. All it takes is, you know, an excuse for a lot of these fighters, and they're fucking taking a dive, mate, or pulling out. I'm done with this fucking sport. It's real disheartening because I was brought up with boxing with some great warriors, and I used to the excitement that a good boxing match would give me at night. You know, get a few beers in, 3 o'clock in the morning, the old nerves start to go. You know, you adrenaline, and you just get up for it. That feeling's gone.
Well, Stu, I'll disagree, man. We had some great upsets this year and some unification fights, which was indicative of competitive fights. I mean, we still had some BS things, like we were talking about the Valdez thing. That really soured my view of boxing. But the fact that so many upsets happen also is these guys can control everything. They can rig fights, but they can't control everything. At the end of the day, it's still two guys fighting in the ring.
I was going to say, with Danny Garcia, to Stu's thing, it's 100% right. He doesn't let his hands go. And that's because he doesn't fight enough. He's kind of a prodding guy to begin with. And if that Philly style he fights, you got to fight a lot, right? You got to stay sharp and fresh. And when you're worried about, managing your sister's rap career and, selling your products, he was a part-time fighter. You can't be a part-time fighter because what happens, everything happens too quick in there for you. And he doesn't have the ability to catch up. So he's always that split second behind, and he won't let his hand go because it's ring rust. PBC fighters are in a constant state of ring rust.
Yeah. I mean, they all want to be Floyd, don't they? But they don't want to put the work Floyd put in. That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big problem right there, man. But I think hopefully some of these guys are going to live by the example of the guys that really lived up to the hype this year.
He's got an iron chin, and I just think it's bad game plans by his trainer, which has limited his father. If you're kind of slow and plodding, I was watching this documentary by Rich the Historian on Randall Tex Cobb. If you can hit hard and you have an iron chin, shoot for the collarbones, shoot for the body, and start breaking a fighter where you can punch in between his shots, and eventually you're gonna get down. You're gonna get to him because you're gonna chop him down. Let your hands go, but let him go to the wide portion of the silhouette, the frame, the torso, and start beating a fighter down like that. But he's not doing that. Why? I'm not saying that I know everything, but his father should vary it up. He should do a better job, or he should replace his corner. But it's probably too late in the game for that.
Yeah, that's true.
Carl Froch. You just got to look at Carl Froch. Now, Carl Froch didn't have much boxing ability when it comes to skills. He could look quite sloppy and quite bad on the eye at times. He had a granite chin, and he could hit hard. He had a will to win. You know, when you're getting out skilled by someone, you have to take it to the trenches, like he did with Butte. I mean, he walked through Butte's shots to get his own off. That's what you got to do sometimes. Danny Garcia, he doesn't want to do any. I mean, let's be real. He made fucking Zab Judah look like Marvin Hagler that night, didn't he?
Yeah, man.
This is Zab Judah we're talking about. I mean, this guy, he knows how to quit, doesn't he? He makes Durrell look brave. I mean, let's be real. Zab Judah that night, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. In them last few rounds, he was pacing Danny all over the place.
Yeah, that was bizarre, man. Yeah. All right.
That was bizarre.
That was a good analogy, too, the Randall Tex Cobb. Excellent analogy, talking about a guy willing to take big Randall Tex Cobb. I think Gonzalo mentioned him. Like, I mean, he took some hellacious shots. I mean, he got beat up so bad, he made Howard Cosell quit calling boxing. It was such a one-sided beating.
Yeah, the thing. I mean, you've got to be prepared to get hit, to get your own shots off sometimes. It's just, you can't be perfect all the time. You can't be waiting for openings, can't be waiting for the counter, waiting for someone to react. No, sometimes sometimes you might have to take a shot going in there. All right, it's dangerous to do that, but it's a risky business. You have to take risks in a boxing ring. If you think you're going to go in there and everything's going to work out but by the game, but it doesn't work like that. You know, you have to, and you have to use your own initiative. If a game plan's not working, why stick to it? Why are you listening to some fucking clown in the corner like, say, Ben Davison? I mean, why is Tyson Fury listening to Ben Davison in the first fight when I could see and everyone else could see that the minute you push Wilder back and put it on him and put a pace on him, he falls to pieces. But no, let's make Ben look good, and the fucking PE teacher. Let's make him look good. So let's fight on the back. I've always said it. The worst thing you can do against Wilder is fight on the back foot for 36 minutes and thinks he's not going to land one, because he'll find you. He might swing 30 of the fuckers, but I'm guarantee you one is going to land. And when it does, mate, you're waking up in fucking David Price's hospital bed, ain't you? I mean, let's be real.
When I was watching the Errol Spence fight versus Danny Garcia, I noticed something. And this is just me, what I noticed. He was throwing a lot of right hooks to the shovel hooks to the kidneys. If he would have thrown left hooks to the liver, I mean, he was successful throwing the right hooks to the kidneys, but he would have had more of an effect fighting Errol Spence, digging to the right side of the body with the left hook. Right, my left, his right, as the fighter's facing his opponent, with the left hook to the body, because if you get in there, you're chopping the tree down. You better use your left. He's got that no look left hook to the top, but that shows the limitation he's got when going to the body. He's only working his right hand, not throwing the left. So that goes back to his corner.
Yeah, that's true, man. You're absolutely right. All right, listen, let's move through this. Actually, because we've been on for 3 hours. We might finish this part 2 tomorrow or another day, because I do have to go. Because, man, 3 hours and we still have 15 fighters left. So, but they are big names, so I think that we should save it for another day. Well, speaking at the end of the day, it's been a productive night. We got through a lot of names. Shout out to everybody that joined us, everybody that contributed with the super chat. I really appreciate it. Stu, really glad to hear you're back. Just stay on the line there, because I just want to tell you a couple of things before we go. And that's about it. Listen, I want to thank Jeme, Gonzalo, Chief, who was here earlier as well. Recognize, who dropped by. Stu, of course, thank you for coming
what happened
back.
to Recognize? Did he leave already?
Well,
I had a hard time hearing him tonight. Did you guys hear him well? I couldn't barely hear him.
Yeah, I couldn't hear him either. So I think he's probably working or in the streets or something. Yeah. So listen, we got to move on from there. We're gonna finish the list tomorrow, or worst case scenario, Sunday or Saturday, before the big Martin versus Ortiz fight. So, fellas, thank you for joining us. Shout out to the Quags, Ricardo Martinez, Epadokua, Uncle Burnt Apostrophe. Conquer Mustang was here as well. Super Anderson, Aldo, Jet Kyle, Karen from Chicago, Mary Ross, Jordan Campini. Marcus R. Wise Guys. Thank you guys for joining us. Take it easy. Have a good one. We'll see you within the next couple of days. Oh, Happy New Year.
Kev,
I
you're
don't
a
think we're
pussy.
Yeah. Hey, BDA, did you say Karen from Chicago or Kevin?
Kev, come on.
I thought you said
I just want to say hi. I just want to shout out to Quags from the other night, man. Good dude. He called on the show I did the other night. He's a good guy.
All right, fantastic.
Time he called in, Quags.
Yeah, he wasn't.
He called in.
Yeah, I think it was in the open.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Yeah, he's a good guy, man. He stayed on. We talked for hours. Sorry.
He's a good guy. And Pete, I can't say the same about fucking Kev from Wisconsin because he ain't from Chicago. Let's be real. He's not from Chicago.
We're off the line, right?
No, we're not. All right, so listen, fellas. Thank you for joining us.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. So shout out to everybody out there, everybody that joined us. Happy New Year. Hope you had a good Christmas. Hope you have a good year. I hope you had a good year. And we'll talk in 2022, or if we don't do it tomorrow.